Everyone's face changed dramatically when they saw Xia Hong's wound. There's Dewdrop. The leader has been infected too. Then Wuxing must have turned into the white dew goo. Brother, quickly apply some solidified fire oil. Xia Hong took the solidified fire oil, crushed it into a liquid, and applied it to the wound on his face. The alternating sensations of cold and heat not only made him immediately understand the speculations in Yuan Cheng, but also made his expression somewhat strange. The touch of this dewdrop, why does it feel a bit familiar? Before he had time to think about it, he was already following Xia Chuan and the others, arriving at the Wushuang camp. It was nighttime, and the entrance of the Wushuang camp was guarded by many members of Great Xia. Upon seeing Xia Chuan and others approaching from a distance, everyone hurriedly stood up to salute. But before they could speak, they noticed it was Xia Hong behind Xia Chuan, and their expressions turned ecstatic. Leader! It's the leader has returned. It's really the leader is back, ha ha ha. Greetings to the leader. Greetings to the leader. Greetings to the leader. The cheering like waves sounded throughout the Wushuang camp, not only thrilling the people inside the camp, but also letting the 4 people following Xia Chuan, including Peng Bo, witness once again the high esteem in which Xia Hong, as a leader, was held in the hearts of the people of Great Xia. Among the 4, Peng Bo and Chen Yingyuan showed the most complex expressions. After all, they were both former leaders, and they could sense the genuine fervor and reverence the 1,400 earth-digging realm people of Great Xia held for Xia Hong. The fervor Xia Chuan and others had shown for Xia Hong over at Hankyang Station had already shocked them, but now they realized the emotions of these earth-digging realm were even more exaggerated. The 2 even suspected that if Xia Hong were to order these people to die, they would do so without hesitation. It's no wonder their feelings were complicated. Compared to Xia Hong, their status as leaders in their respective camps was significantly lower. That's enough, there's no need for excessive courtesy, everyone stand up. Wearing golden armor and holding the familiar Great Xia's intermediate hunting team gear, Xia Hong was also in a good mood, smiling and gesturing for them to rise before heading with Xia Chuan to the Wushuang main building. The white dew plague has completely spread in both Wushuang and Beehive. When Mengyi returned to Xia City with the message this morning, he brought over more than 3,000 pieces in advance. We prioritized giving them to the earth-digging realm, and the rest have been strictly isolated, awaiting further deliveries of solidified fire oil for use. As soon as Xia Hong sat in the main seat, he heard Xia Chuan's report. According to Xia Chuan's earlier statement, it was only this morning when he discovered Wuxing's abnormality, sent Mengyi back to Xia City to report, and requested a large shipment of solidified fire oil from Xia City, which certainly wouldn't be that fast. Solidified fire oil isn't weightless either, and each piece weighs about 5 pounds, so large-scale logistics wouldn't work with just a few cold resistance-level individuals. A cart is needed for transportation. When is the remaining solidified fire oil expected to arrive? From Xia City to Mirror Valley, one can take the Xia direct route, which isn't affected during the day, but the road from Mirror Valley to Beehive and then to Wushuang isn't suitable at night. They should have reached Mirror Valley by nightfall, and assuming they left Mirror Valley after nightfall, they're likely almost at Beehive now. If nothing unexpected happens, Mengyi should soon send people to deliver it. Xia Hong nodded and asked in a deep voice, "Up until now, have any ordinary people who were infected shown any other symptoms?" Xia Chuan turned to look at the back of the crowd, where a group of intermediate hunting team captains who had just arrived were standing, as they were currently responsible for monitoring the people in Wushuang and would naturally know best. Zhu Shun was the first to step forward, bowing and reporting, "Leader, people started dying right after nightfall. The dewdrops become extremely active at night, and weaker infants and children, along with some people with poor health, have already started exploding and self-igniting. As per Mengyi's instructions, we've separated everyone as much as possible to prevent them from clustering. Fortunately, no large-scale casualties have occurred yet, but the death toll is around 2,000, and it's rising, with ordinary young adults beginning to die." Xiao Kencheng also stepped forward, cupping his fist and reporting, "Leader, due to the urgency of the situation, we just prioritized using the remaining over 1,000 pieces of solidified fire oil for the infants, so most of the more than 2,000 who died were either elderly or had pre-existing conditions, meaning that the population loss isn't too severe." The blue flames from the exploding dewdrops quickly ignite the dewdrops, infecting others. Fortunately, thanks to the intelligence brought back by Yuan Cheng, Mengya told Xia Chuan in the daytime, allowing the people in Wushwang to take timely measures, thus avoiding massive casualties. Even so, upon hearing the reports, the expressions of everyone present, including Xia Hong, grew more somber. How long has it been? Wuxing only arrived in the morning, and now it's just 4 hours past nightfall. The power of this white dew plague is terrifying. Captain Zio did a great job. Children are the future, and it's crucial to ensure their survival first. Also, we can't just wait here. Xia Chuan should stay here with 3 cold resistance level individuals, and the rest should come with me to Beehive as quickly as possible to retrieve some of the solidified fire oil, to prevent too many deaths. Every life loss will be accounted for that white dew goo. Chapter 571, Chapter 245, Cause and Effect, Perspective Return to the Beehive, Part 3. As soon as Xia Hong spoke, everyone's expressions tightened. The monster grows by killing, and with the white dew plague's highly efficient killing method, the speed at which that monster improves is likely beyond their imagination. Wuxing has already infiltrated the Long Mountain Army camp. According to the news brought back by Yuan Cheng, at least thousands or even tens of thousands have fled from Yangyuan Peak. Every minute of delay could make that monster stronger. There's no time to lose. Let's depart now. I also need to go to the Beehive to see Yuan Dao and Yuan Cheng. Previously, Xia Hong's focus had always been on the struggle for supremacy in Longyu, but upon hearing the news of the white dew goo, he immediately shifted his focus. There was no choice. The psychological shadow cast by the wood puppet monster and Jing Xian was too significant. Leaving the monster unchecked is not something that can be solved by just a few deaths. Xia Hong acted decisively. As soon as he finished speaking, he immediately set off with 11 cold resistance levels, sweeping toward the Beehive. Leader, Long Mountain and Zhejiang are still fighting. Judging by Wuxing's infiltration, there's a high chance that the armies from both sides going out have been infected. If we don't intervene and that white dew goo kills so many people. On the way, hearing Qiu Peng's reminder, a glimmer of appreciation appeared in Xia Hong's eyes, and he couldn't help but feel happy for Qiu Peng's growth. He was eager to get the solidified fire oil, but not just for the more than 30,000 people in Wushwang. He was also considering those from the Long Mountain Army and Hankyang Station. It's a matter of perspective. Currently, with the struggle between Long Mountain and Zhejiang, Great Xia wants to profit as a third party. The best way is naturally to watch the two sides battle to the death, hoping that both exhaust their foundations. At that point, Great Xia could unify the entire Longyu land without much effort. But compared to this, dealing with the white dew goo is undoubtedly more important. The harm caused by the monster is far more significant than territorial battles and power struggles. Especially now, when Great Xia's power is not yet sufficient to deal with the monster, should the white dew goo grow, Great Xia would equally suffer. Qiu Peng's ability to transcend the struggle mindset and focus on more critical matters proves that his perspective far surpasses many others. Let's get the solidified fire oil first. Of course, we'll deal with Long Mountain and Zhejiang, but the premise is ensuring our people's safety. By the way, are you clear on the inventory of solidified fire oil? The inventory when I left was 92,183 blocks. As expected from the camp's supply department director, Qiu Peng almost blurted out the critical material inventory numbers like solidified fire oil. Over 90,000 blocks, that should be enough for Longyu. Xia Hong felt much more relaxed and quickened his pace. The group soon entered the Beehive territory. They had only gone less than a kilometer to the southeast when they came upon a caravan of about 20 people hurriedly advancing through the snow. From afar, upon seeing Hong Tian in the lead, Xia Hong immediately rushed over. Lord Luo, Lord Qiu, leader, why are you here? Seeing Xia Hong in the crowd, Hong Tian immediately showed delight and quickly bent down in salute. But Xia Hong clearly didn't have the mind to chat more, waved, glanced at the caravan, and immediately inquired about the quantity of solidified fire oil. Mirror Valley sent a total of 50,000 blocks of solidified fire oil. We left 20,000 in the Beehive. There are 30,000 blocks here that we're planning to send to Wushwang. Peng Bo and Chen Yingyuan will return to the Beehive with me, and the rest of you will cooperate with Hong Tian to deliver the solidified fire oil to Wushwang as quickly as possible. Upon Xia Hong's command, He took Chen Peng and headed directly to the beehive. The remaining people nodded in compliance, and with Hong Tian, 2 of them cleared the snow path, while the rest pushed the caravan forward swiftly. With the addition of 9 cold resistance levels, the caravan's pace immediately multiplied, speeding quickly toward Wushuang. Meanwhile, Xia Hong, along with Chen Peng, had arrived at the beehive. Walking along the boulder corridor into the underground, entering the iron gate of the main zone, Xia Hong quickly saw Meng Yi stationed there, along with a group of great Xia soldiers. "Where are Yuan Dao and Yuan Cheng? Take me to see them." Before Meng Yi and the others could greet him, Xia Hong directly interrupted him. Meng Yi also realized the urgency, and immediately led him to meet Yuan Dao and Yuan Cheng. In the main building of the hive main zone, Xia Hong quickly saw the unconscious Yuan Dao and beside him, the severely injured Yuan Cheng. "Leader, why are you here?" Yuan Cheng, visibly moved, immediately stood up. After rescuing Yuan Dao's group from Yang Lu, due to his severe injuries, he had been staying in the beehive to recuperate. Xia Hong's arrival brought a pleasantly unexpected surprise to him. Chapter 572, Chapter 246, White Dew Goo and Cold Apple Jade Dew, Hankyang's Sinister Smile. On the day of April 16th, the minister took a few of us to investigate the situation at the Yanglu camp, and we discovered Li Xuanxiang and Peng Bo's group of 4 who were rescuing people. Then he had Yuan Dao pretend to be from Zhejiang Forest to mingle among Wuxing and Han Jiulai. In the uppermost hall of the hive main zone, Xia Hong listened as Yuan Cheng narrated the events that occurred at the Yanglu camp, while he inspected the unconscious Yuan Dao. Yuan Cheng was very detailed in his account, especially describing how he was sent by the Xia Chuan sect to support Yuan Dao and witnessed the White Dew Goo awakening at Yangyuan Peak, not daring to leave out a single word. After Yuan Cheng finished speaking, Peng Bo also recounted the origins of Yangyuan Peak, specifically the event from over 90 years ago when heavenly dew descended. Yuan Dao's injuries were severe, not just the penetrating wound on his chest, but also the large quantities of fiery red substance within his body. Xia Hong recalled seeing Wuxing's condition at Hankyang, and his expression became somewhat grave. He turned to look at Yuan Cheng, his left eye flickering with light, particularly scrutinizing Yuan Cheng's wounds, and his gaze suddenly deepened. Indeed, Yuan Cheng's wounds were also filled with that fiery red substance. "Do any of you have wounds? Show them to me." Upon hearing this, Peng Bo and Chen Yingyuan were taken aback and quickly tore open their clothing. Just moments ago at Hankyang Station, they had participated in rescuing Xia Hong with Xia Chuan and had developed small wounds on their bodies. Among the 5 people present, only Meng Yi, who had not been involved in any battles, had no wounds on his body. But he clearly already realized the reason behind Xia Hong's questions and asked with a slight change in tone, "Leader, can the White Dew Plague infiltrate the body?" No answer was needed. Seeing Xia Hong's heavy expression, everyone already knew the answer. Though unsure how Xia Hong discerned it, the natural trust in him made their expressions gradually grow anxious. "The solidified fire oil is not assured. I need to return to Xia City. You all wait here for me. I'll be back soon." "Yes, leader." Everyone bowed and looked up, only to find that Xia Hong, who had just been standing in front of them, had disappeared. Peng Bo and Chen Yingyuan exchanged a glance. Their faces first flashed with shock, but quickly, recalling what had just happened at Hankyang Station, their expressions calmed down significantly. Just moments ago, the 2 had seen with their own eyes that even Li Xuanling and more than 1,000 Longyu soldiers were unable to successfully exterminate, showcasing the leader's power far beyond their imagination. "Anyone who is injured will have the dew infiltrating their body as well. We are at cold resistance level, yet that's the case. What about ordinary people?" "The leader must have a way, just wait for him." Meng Yi spoke with concern, but before he finished, Yuan Cheng's confident words interrupted him. Thinking of Xia Hong's strength, Meng Yi also relaxed significantly. Xia Hong dashed out of the beehive and didn't even pause at Mirror Valley. He bypassed the arrow bamboo forest at the fastest speed on his way back to Xia City. "Who goes there, leader? Greetings, leader." "The leader is back." "Greetings, leader." "No need for formalities. Everyone stand up, I have urgent matters." Xia Hong gestured for the guards to rise as he quickly stepped through the city gate, unable to suppress a tinge of surprise on his face. In 4 months, The changes in Xia City had indeed been tremendous. A massive cast-iron city gate, 15 meters tall and 8 meters wide, had been installed, suspended by 16 chains as thick as a human body, opened halfway. Judging by the pulley and lever mechanism inside the gate, the opening and closing mechanisms were evidently far more advanced than before. Entering through the gate, a 10-meter-wide open road stretched ahead, leading directly to the old valley entrance. The sides were lined with various trees, and more wooden buildings had appeared closer to the valley. The planning is quite good, and the population has increased so much. It seems a lot of progress has been made in these 4 months. Without the heart to examine the settlement's changes, Xia Hong sped through to the valley's iron gate, quickly arriving beneath the main building's hall. The reaction in my body is becoming stronger. Xia Hong jumped up to the main building, but before entering the hall, he noticed the burning sensation within him growing more intense, a flicker of joy in his eyes. Yuan Dao, Yuan Cheng, Peng Bo, and Chen Yingyuan, all with wounds on their bodies, had already been infected by the dew. Being at the cold resistance level himself, he was certainly not an exception. Previously, applying solidified fire oil to the body resulted in the removal and healing of the white dew, though accompanied by intense burning, and now approaching the main hall, he felt a similar sensation internally. This was self-explanatory. The cold ruins tripod is effective against the white dew goo-induced plague. The remaining solidified fire oil in Great Xia's stocks had already been sent to Longyu, prompting Xia Hong's urgent return to see if the cold ruins tripod could eradicate the white dew in his body. The encounters with Wooden Puppet and Jing Xian have already made it clear that the main building of the camp, that is, the cold ruins tripod, was the perfect weapon against supernatural monsters. With such a beneficial tool, he naturally had to utilize it. Returning was the right decision. As he contemplated this, Xia Hong quickly stepped into the hall, striding to the front of the cold ruins tripod, reaching out to place his hands on the scorching surface. Sizzle! A faint sizzling sound immediately came from within him, and Xia Hong's skin was burned hot, with wisps of white smoke seeping from his pores in an incessant trail. Chapter 573. Chapter 246. White Dew Goo and Cold Apple Jade Dew, Hankyang's sinister smile. Xia Hong, upon seeing the white mist, was taken aback. Why did the smoke feel so familiar? After pondering for a moment, Xia Hong's eyes suddenly lit up. Isn't this the toxin emitted when I spied on the hive main building while cooking the jade bone? Yes, that's it, the plague of white dew goo. Xia Hong sniffed the toxin and found that the two were indeed of the same origin. The flash of insight made him instantly recall the 5 drops of cold apple jade dew who had given him. No wonder I felt familiarity when I saw the fiery red substance around Wuxiang. Cold apple jade dew is composed of a large amount of this fiery red substance, and its temperature is extremely high, hence it can counteract the intense cold toxin contained within the jade bone. In other words, the white dew goo and cold apple jade dew are also of the same origin. The wood puppet monster sent Xia Chuan the wooden puppet inheritance, black blade, white line. The Jing Xian monster, I got only the yang mirror, thus gaining the eye of truth, and that miraculous. Recalling the great benefits obtained after exterminating 2 monsters before, Xia Hong's eyes grew even more bright. This white dew goo, if dealt with properly, might become a grand opportunity for the camp. No, a huge opportunity. If before returning to Xia City, Xia Hong felt full of anxiety, at this moment, realizing the connection between white dew goo and cold apple jade dew, he was filled with ecstatic joy. Stay calm, this white dew goo is not simple. Not only can it transform into cold resistance level, it can also spy on the original host's memories, delude hearts, confuse perceptions, and is not easy to deal with. One must think of a comprehensive plan, otherwise don't speak of opportunities, it might cause a great disaster. Xia Hong stood in the great hall, contemplating strategies while staring at the cold ruins tripod before him. Greetings, leader, Zhu Ling requests an audience. Come in. On this expedition to Longyu, Xia Chuan had almost taken all the cold resistance levels from the camp, and only Zhu Ling was left guarding Xia City. Upon learning that the leader had returned, he naturally came to inquire about the situation in Longyu. However, Xia Hong clearly had no desire to speak much with him. When he saw Zhu Ling walk in, he directly said, Zhu Ling, make arrangements that from now on in Xia City, each household should self-supply heating. Those without residences can come to squeeze into the main building here. There should be some solidified fire oil left at the station. During this period, minimize going out. Once the main force returns from Longyu, we'll resume normal operations. Self-supply heating, minimize going out. Zhu Ling was about to inquire further, but got interrupted by Xia Hong. There's no need to ask so much. Speed up and execute this. The situation in Longyu is urgent. I'm about to leave soon. Yes, leader, I'll handle it right away. Hearing Xia Hong speak like this, and realizing the urgency in Longyu's situation, Zhu Ling dared not procrastinate further and immediately bowed and exited. If Li Xuanling isn't foolish, Hankyang must have also engaged in combat by now. Wuxing's plague is likely already spreading. I'm unsure of the situation at Yangyuan Peak back then, but judging from how Wuxing infected Wushwang in the morning and how they started showing reactions after dark, we can basically determine that ordinary people's due outbreak time should be around 4 hours. Have to hurry and get there. Otherwise, the more people die, the stronger the white Dugu will become. Xia Hong sensed the unrest starting among the inner city crowds. Many people were gathering towards the main building, recognizing that Zhu Ling was organizing them. Despite feeling anxious, he remained seated on the main throne, patiently waiting. The young master, holding the army here in a standoff with me, only lets Great Xia take advantage for nothing. Why not withdraw now? How about we first discuss with each other how to drive Great Xia away? As Xia Hong anticipated, Li Xuanling and Hankyang wasn't foolish. Failing to successfully encircle and kill, and after letting Xia Hong escape, she decisively led the Longyu army in an attack on the inner valley of Hankyang. Rest assured, Great Xia won't gain the advantage, neither will Yu Zhejiang. On Longyu land, the status of my Long Mountain is not something anyone can take away. Li Xuanling's cool voice echoed from outside the valley entrance. With a loud boom, the iron gate of the inner valley was forcefully pierced open, creating a new hole by a silver-tipped iron pillar carried by hundreds. Hiss! The pointed iron pillar retreated, forming a continuous piece with the several holes before. Wuxing, Li Xuandu, Li Xuanyan, and 5 or 6 others, along with Li Xuanling, surged in, instantly tearing open a gap at the valley entrance. Brothers, follow me in charge. Exterminate the rebels, leave no one. Hankyang is the traitor of Longyu, kill. Kill, charge with me. The iron gate was punctured, and with 7 or 8 cold resistance levels holding the front of the valley's iron gate, the Longyu army in black armor, wielding spears, immediately poured in one after another. If that weren't enough, they instantly attacked the Hankyang guards overseeing the iron gate's chains, closely following several cold resistance levels. Throughout the entire process, no more than 10 breaths passed as the chain zone was cleared out, with hundreds of Longyu soldiers collectively pulling on the chains, wrenching them open directly. Boom crack! With a loud crash, the iron gate of the inner valley opened. More Longyu soldiers, including the ordinary army of Long Mountain, instantly swarmed into the iron gate en masse. Their spirits soared, ferocious with weapons in hand, charging madly at the Hankyang guards, evidently venting all the failed effort to kill Xia Hong on the Hankyang guards. Do not panic, hold the line. Killing 1 breaks even, killing 2 earns a profit. Zhejiang army, charge with me. Hu Tong, wielding an 8-sided giant hammer, led 1,500 Zhejiang guards straight toward the central Longyu army position at the Iron Gate. Chapter 574. Chapter 246. White Du Gu and Cold Apple Jade Du, Hankyang's sinister smile /3. He shouted bravely, but his heart was full of regret. If only I'd known earlier, I shouldn't have stood by just now. Either I should have helped Li Xuanling kill Xia Hong or helped Xia Hong. Now I've offended both, and I'm in big trouble. Hu Tong felt a bit bitter in his heart, believing that his previous actions had no problem. After all, it was a conflict between Long Mountain and Great Xia, and standing by was in Zhejiang's interest. If it weren't for Xia Chuan and his group showing up, even if Xia Hong had been successfully killed, the Longyu troops would have suffered heavy casualties, and the feud between Long Mountain and Great Xia would have deepened, allowing Zhejiang to better ally with Great Xia, but who would have thought that over 1,000 Longyu troops, plus those cold resistance level with Li Xuanling, would still let Xia Hong escape? Having betrayed Xia Hong once, Great Xia was hoping Long Mountain would wipe out Xia Hong and his Hankyang people, and they would never help. Li Xuanling seized the opportunity, and as soon as Xia Hong fled, she immediately led her people to continue attacking Hankyang. The strength of the Longyu army is too strong, there's no way to fight. The leader is at White Abyss and can't come to support. If we want to escape, we must break through on our own. Hu Tong, wielding a giant hammer, swept aside 3 or 4 Long-Yu soldiers in front of him. As he watched his own people fall continuously, his expression grew more serious. He exchanged a glance with several cold resistance-level companions beside him, eyes showing determination. "Brothers, follow me to charge the gate. It's the only way out." With Hu Tong's angry roar, a large number of earth-digging realm immediately followed. Realizing that this was truly the only way out, they all rushed toward it, fearless even as Long-Yu troops blocked their way, all shouting as they began charging the gate. Swishing! An iron arrow suddenly shot down from the top of the head. Hu Tong quickly dodged, but his shoulder was pierced. He didn't dare to look for the shooter, only kept moving forward with his hammer. "Whether Hankyang or Zhejiang people, surrender and you will not be killed. I, Li Xuanling, will keep my word, but there's only this one opportunity. If anyone remains stubborn, it won't be just you who will be held accountable." Li Xuanling's voice echoed in the battlefield, prompting many Hankyang Earth-Digging Realm members to exchange a glance and actually start laying down their weapons. Not just Hankyang's, even Zhejiang's people seemed tempted. Do not be deceived by her. Defeat means only death. This scene made Hu Tong's face tense. He turned and smashed down another Long-Yu soldier, trying to cover the battlefield's sound. Surrendering now would spell doom for those few cold resistance-level individuals. "Only over 100 meters left. Follow me, charge out." Wish! Before Hu Tong could finish his words, a silver sword light suddenly swept across his neck. Although his reaction to retreat was swift, a long wound was still carved across his chest. Judging by the length of the blood spray, the wound was evidently deep. "Your chance is gone." The owner of the silver longsword was none other than Li Xuanling. Slashing at Hu Tong was just the beginning. She moved like a giant wild goose, gracefully landing as the heavily fortified people wall formed by Zhejiang's army had already been torn open by the Long-Yu troops. She went straight to Hu Tong and the others, attacking them fiercely with her longsword. Not just Li Xuanling, but Li Xuandu, Li Xuanyan, Meng Ying, Zhou Yuan, and other cold resistance level from Long Mountain were also there. In Hu Tong's eyes, a flicker of despair appeared. With Li Xuanling and others so close, hopes of escape were slim. "Things are growing from these corpses on the ground." "No, you have it on you too." "There's something on your wound too. What is it?" "Everyone has it all around the wounds." "I don't have wounds, yet it's grown on me too." "There's a lot on me. What are these dewdrops?" However, just as Li Xuanling was about to kill Hu Tong and the others, frightened voices suddenly erupted from Hankyang's defenders, and soon it wasn't just them. The Long Mountain people started too. "I've got a lot on me too, and it's heating up." "What's happening?" Li Xuanling, holding her longsword and each strike aimed at Hu Tong's vital points, was about to hit during a close moment when her eyes inadvertently swept over Hu Tong's chest wound, causing her pupils to sharply contract. A large cluster of white dewdrops had grown on Hu Tong's chest. Boom! A fierce blue flame suddenly erupted from a building within the canyon's rear, followed instantly by intense shrieks. What is this? What kind of fire? What kind of fire is this?" Save me, save me." "Run, run, many people are on fire, run now." Help, help." A crowd surged out from Hankyang's building. Strangely, they were all enveloped in blue flames. Many even appeared as blue fireballs themselves, and before running a few meters from the building, they were reduced to ashes. This terrifying scene immediately halted many on the battlefield in astonishment. Everyone stared in horror at the building, or more precisely, at those running blue fire people. Something's not right. The deception detection Jade is reacting. Li Xuandu pulled out the scalding deception detection Jade from his chest, about to speak quickly to Li Xuanling, only to find she was already holding a piece. "Where's Wuxing?" Li Xuanling surveyed the crowd, her expression suddenly turning grim as she asked softly. Li Xuandu immediately reacted upon hearing this, and after a quick search, his expression also turned bleak. They all recalled what Xia Chuan's words were when saving Wuxing that morning. "Heavy heavy." Boom, 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 boom. Amidst the valley came Wuxing's eerie laughter, while 4 more cabins burst into blue flames, followed by even more terrifying screams. That Xia Chuan didn't deceive us. Chapter 575, Chapter 247, Immortal Wuxing Surrender. Ah, woo, it hurts, help me, help me. Ah, save me. Woo, save me. They, Jia. From the 4 wooden houses engulfed in blue flames came countless shrieks and cries of agony. One by one, figures shrouded in blue flames scrambled desperately to escape from the 4 doorways. Under the night sky, it seemed as if thousands of fiends were squeezing out of the gates of hell. Above the wooden houses, at the intersection of the blue flames, Wuxing's bizarre and maniacal laughter made everyone's hearts skip a beat. Long Mountain Army, retreat. Retreat out of the valley. Don't stand there dumbfounded, fall back. Li Xuanling's 3 consecutive shouts woke everyone up. Upon hearing the call, everyone frantically turned and fled towards the valley's exit. But in the sky, Wuxing moved. Boom! Wuxing transformed into a blue fireball, suddenly swooping down from the sky. A saber condensed from flames quietly appeared in its hand, and the fire arc it brought forth instantly sliced through dozens of people. Several reacted quickly, using their weapons in advance to parry, but without exception, their weapons were instantly melted when they touched the blue flame saber. Even more bizarre, those slashed by the blue flame saber did not have their bodies severed in 2, but from their wounds emerged a large string of white droplets, which were then ignited by the flames, covering their bodies in fire and immediately prompting screams. Jia. If the thousands of people in the 4 wooden houses just now only provoked Wuxing's satisfied laugh, then at this moment, killing dozens of fleeing people with a single strike made Wuxing's mood truly frenzied. Kill. Wuxing's eyes turned blood-red, his pupils gradually constricting, his face full of a bloodthirsty twisted smile as he charged again at the now even more terrified crowd, the blue flames above him leaping higher by several feet. Clang! But this time it wasn't that easy. A silver longsword blocked the back of someone from the earth-digging realm, colliding fiercely with Wuxing's fire blade. Surprisingly, not only was the silver longsword not melted, but after the collision, it even severed a portion of Wuxing's saber. Use silver weapons to block it, or everyone will die. As Li Xuanling's voice fell, Li Xuanyan, Li Xuandu, Meng Ying, and Zhou Yuan, the 4 cold resistance level members of Long Mountain, immediately pulled out a silver dagger from their bosoms and charged at Wuxing. The 6 cold resistance level members of Zhejiang, including Hu Tong, exchanged glances before Hu Tong first drew a silver dagger from his bosom. Seeing this, the other 5 immediately followed suit. Young master facing a deceitful monster, let's join forces. Stop talking, let's deal with it first. Li Xuanling led the charge and had already reached Wuxing's side. Swoosh! HMPH. The arc of the silver sword swiftly surged forward, and Wuxing, originally charging at the crowd, immediately ducked to avoid it. Although he successfully dodged, the sword arc's passage caused the blue flames enveloping him at a yard high to instantly drop by 10 centimeters. Wuxing raised the blue flame saber, looking at the longsword in Li Xuanling's hand. Just as a trace of dread flashed in his eyes, 10 silver lights suddenly encircled him from all directions. The 10 silver lights naturally belonged to the 2 groups from Long Mountain and Zhejiang, who quickly reached a consensus just now. All 10 cold resistance level individuals acted simultaneously. Using daggers, which are light weapons, the violent force unleashed was enough to make the blue flames enveloping Wuxing roar wildly from the gusts of wind. Swoosh! Even though Wuxing had already chosen a direction to break through, Li Xuanling quickly swapped places with that person, using his silver longsword to completely block the escape route. Thud! Only 4 of them managed to plunge their silver daggers into Wuxing, namely Li Xuanling, Li Xuanyan, Li Xuandu, and Hu Tong. This was not surprising, as they were the 4 strongest among the 11 present. Moreover, Li Xuanling's longsword pierced directly through Wuxing's brow, penetrating his skull. The suppressive effect of silver weapons on deceitful monsters was well known. So all 11, including Li Xuanling, briefly wore smiles on their faces. However, this smile soon transferred to Wuxing's face. Jia. Wuxing suddenly raised his head, his pupils filled with dew, causing a shiver down one's spine, and the laughter that seemed squeezed from his throat made one's skin crawl. Killing me is that easy. Boom! As Wuxing finished speaking, the blue flames on his body shot skyward and abruptly transformed into thick smoke, disappearing directly from everyone's sight. PFFF. Help, help. They. With Wuxing's disappearance, the remaining earth-digging realm cultivators who had not completely retreated from the outer valley instantly let out scream after scream. All 11 of Li Xuanling's group turned and rushed toward the outer valley without a second thought. The Wuxing they had just struck with silver weapons seemed to ignore them entirely, beginning a frenzied slaughter in the outer valley. The blue fire saber in his hand had already extended over 2 meters, and the blue flames covering his body had grown from the original 1 yard to 1.5 yards, and with his slaughter, they continued to grow. We'll die whether we fight or not, it will only grow stronger. This time it was Li Xuandu speaking. He looked at the silver dagger in his hand, now an inch shorter than before, his eyes filled with horror, exclaiming, "It's starting to consume silver weapons. This is a sign of evolving into an advanced, deceitful monster. We can't let it continue. Stop the nonsense, hurry up." Li Xuanling transformed into a silver light, instantly skimming through the crowd, latching onto Wuxing, the whistling sword light raising a snowstorm, and the remaining 10 quickly rejoined the battle. Chapter 576, Chapter 247, Immortal Wuxing Surrender. Clang! Once again, Li Xuanling saved an earth-digging realm, but the cost was her body being thrown backwards 7 or 8 meters. After forcibly steadying herself, she spat out a mouthful of reverse blood. Although she successfully pressed Wuxing's blue fire saber down a few more inches, Li Xuanling's pupils were full of seriousness, even more terrified than during their first encounter. Just a moment ago, it was only 12 tresses, now it's almost 18 tresses. 18 tresses, that's essentially the strongest power in Longyu at present. Li Xuanling could determine this because of Xia Hong. Her second uncle Li Tianqing had fought Xia Hong before, and he had mentioned Xia Hong's strength being above 17 tresses. During that collision just now, she could clearly sense that the power Wuxing unleashed had surpassed Xia Hong. This is a grotesque creature. It hasn't even used any tricks yet, and just with physical strength, it can crush the entire Longyu. This is over. Only Li Xuanling knew about the change in Wuxing's power. The others, like Li Xuanyan and Hu Tong, unaware of this, rushed forward. Don't force it, it has at least 18 tresses of power. Seeing this, Li Xuanling immediately shouted a warning. Unfortunately, this warning was a bit late. The first to charge was Li Xuanyan, facing the menacing grin of Wuxing. Upon hearing Li Xuanling's words, he tried to retreat in panic. But how could Wuxing let him get away? Whoosh! The blue fire saber suddenly slashed down, its terrifying force sending a huge gust of snow mist, enveloping Li Xuanyan's body in an instant, the saber slicing directly across his waist. Sizzle! Unlike Wuxing killing those earth-digging realm before, where white dewdrops would appear from the wound, when the blue fire saber slashed across Li Xuanyan, a wound appeared first, followed slowly by white dewdrops. The cold resistance-level body was clearly much stronger. That blue fire saber is just a phantom created by its flames, meant only to spread plague, lacking substance, so no matter how strong its power is, it can't cause us real harm. Hearing Li Xuandu's words, the others were originally skeptical. But in the next second, they immediately believed it. Because Wuxing inhaled with his left hand at the ground, then casually picked up a large saber. Whoosh! This time he slashed at Li Xuanyan with a real saber. Elder brother, be careful. Li Xuanling and Li Xuandu rushed in from front and back. The latter blocked Wuxing's left-hand saber. The former used a silver longsword to block Wuxing's right-hand blue fire saber. Li Xuanyan took the opportunity to retreat, holding his waist wound. Crack whoosh! Wuxing's right-hand saber collided with Li Xuanling's longsword, the blue flames on his body shrinking by more than half. Meanwhile, his left-hand saber was directly broken by Li Xuandu's dagger. The 100-forged great blade is incomparable to my silver weapon. Seeing this, Li Xuandu immediately revealed a hint of joy, then pulled back his dagger, ready to strike at Wuxing's head. At the same time, Li Xuanling's sword drew an arc, aiming to decapitate by slicing around Wuxing's neck. The 8 earth-digging realm, including Hu Tong, were not foolish, simultaneously stabbing daggers into the back of Wuxing's skull, piercing through. Sizzle! It's effective, but why can he just turn into smoke and escape? It was the same scenario as before. Wuxing transformed into white smoke, disappearing before their eyes again, followed by more horrific screams coming from the iron gate of the valley. This signifies a new round of slaughter had begun. Li Xuandu, following Li Xuanling toward the iron gate, shouted his confusion loudly. When silverware was inserted into Wuxing's body, they felt clearly that it was indeed burning him, proving that silverware has suppressive and destructive effects on him. But he always escapes by turning into smoke. What is this? In this short time, the combined 5,000 earth-digging realm of the Long Mountain and Jieyang families had at least 1/3 dead. If this killing continues, the losses will be unbearable for both families. What to do? Upon hearing Li Xuandu's quiet inquiry, Li Xuanling's expression turned slightly cold. Seeing the retreat in Li Xuandu's eyes, she could naturally understand the meaning behind his words. This grotesque creature, they couldn't handle it. Staying here would likely cost them their own lives as well. Hold on a little longer. Li Xuanling didn't speak, only signaling with her eyes. Li Xuandu followed his gaze and looked over, discovering that the position at the valley's iron gate was now blocked, mostly by soldiers from Longyu, clothed in black iron armor, and immediately understood Li Xuanling's intention, nodding heavily. Their silent exchange did not delay the siege on Wuxing. Killing Wuxing was already impossible, but letting him continue his slaughter like this was even less of an option. His strength would grow with every kill, and once it reached a certain level, not only would Longyu's army no longer be able to withstand him, even they themselves. Bang! Li Xuanling's worries, along with yet another clash with Wuxing, fully turned into reality. Her sword had already saved people for the 3rd time. This time the rescue failed. Wuxing's blue fire saber directly sent her flying dozens of meters away, her palms split open, body trembling uncontrollably, spitting blood, and even the earth-digging realm fighter behind her was pounded into a pulp. He's even stronger than Xia Hong, above 24 main strength, already more than twice my strength. Li Xuanling was no longer minded about the earth-digging realm getting killed behind her. Instead, she kept her peripheral vision on observing the soldiers of Longyu at the Iron Gate, while cooperating with Li Xuandu and the other 9 cold resistance-level fighters, frantically entangling Wuxing, not giving him the opportunity to slaughter freely. Die, you insect crawlers! Wuxing, which was also that white Dugu, seemed to be annoyed at this moment. He let out a low roar of anger. His blue fire saber bypassed Li Xuanling, furiously striking towards Meng Ying in the crowd. The reason for targeting Meng Ying was simple, because among the 10 cold resistance level, the silver dagger in his hand was the most worn. The others wanted to rush forward and rescue, but their speed had long been outpaced with Wuxing's strength continuously increasing. Meng Ying didn't expect the opponent to pick him, and in a panic attempted to dodge but suddenly received a glance from Li Xuanling. He immediately understood, gritted his teeth, drew his great knife from his waist, opting to resist Wuxing's strike head-on. Whoosh! The blade's edge arrogantly swept, wild power paired with the roaring blue flame. The ground snow was crazily tossed up dozens of meters, while the remaining 10 cold resistance level were all enveloped in snow mist. The earth seemed to even slightly cave under the flame's impact. This strike of Wuxing was terrifying to the extreme. Whoosh! Just as Li Xuandu speculated before, Wuxing's blue fire saber had no substance, only reacting when colliding with silver weapons, directly passing through the 1,000-forged great blade Meng Ying had hastily drawn. Boom! Blue flame directly pierced through Meng Ying's chest, and he reacted just like Li Xuanyan earlier when hit by the blade. Hiss! His chest suddenly sprouted strings of white dew drops, the dew heating up along with the flame's burn. Meng Ying's complexion also rose to an abnormal flush. Jie. Swish! After severely injuring another cold resistance level, Wuxing once again emitted the same maniacal, smug laughter, only for his laugh to abruptly cease, alongside the rushing sound of an iron arrow slicing through the air. A silver iron arrow shot straight from above, coinciding with Wuxing's slash at Meng Ying almost simultaneously, possibly only a breath's time apart from Wuxing's laughter. Damn! Hiss! That divine archer from Long Mountain had acted. Li Xuanling had kept him under cover for this precise moment. The sound of the iron arrow piercing the skull was exceptionally clear. Not only Li Xuanling, but also Li Xuandu, Li Xuanyan, Hu Tong, including the other cold resistance levels, all heard it distinctly. They turned their heads toward Wuxing, their eyes filled with hope. But as smoke billowed from Wuxing's body, the hope in their eyes instantly turned into disappointment, even into despair. With strength above 24 maned, unkillable features that grow with continuous killing, this anomaly was simply insoluble. Run! Li Xuanling finally gave up. Li Xuandu and Li Xuanyan reacted fastest, immediately following her and escaping out the iron gate. Next was Hu Tong. He looked at those near Xia Hong at the gate who hadn't escaped yet, bit his teeth, and nodded to a few cold resistance level nearby. The meaning was clear, they had to run. Li Xuanling, along with 10 cold resistance levels, all ran away. Inside the valley outside the gourd and the earth-digging realm fighters who hadn't escaped yet, including the few survivors in Hankyang Station, all instantly fell into despair. Help us, my lord. Don't leave us behind, my lord, save us. I don't want to die, save me, woo woo woo. Run, can't escape anymore, can't escape anymore. Chapter 577, Chapter 248, Li Hu and Yang Zhang, saving lives and destroying evil. Zhang, I'm injured, you run first, don't worry about me. Outside the valley, roughly 100 meters from the iron gate, Li Hu glanced back at Wuxing who was drawing closer, gritted his teeth, released Yang Zhang's hand, and pushed him directly toward the iron gate, signaling him to escape quickly. Moments ago, during Wuxing's ruthless slaughter, his legs were accidentally struck by the blue fire saber. Although they weren't severed, they were covered in a layer of dew. As the dew's temperature rose, his mobility was nearly lost. If Yang Zhang hadn't been supporting him, he wouldn't have made it this far. The 3 young masters and a group of cold resistance-level individuals had already fled. If they didn't quicken their pace, Wuxing would soon reach them. Li Hu, not wanting to burden his brother, saw Yang Zhang ignoring his persuasion and attempting to come back to help him. He immediately roared, Yang Zhang, you run first, otherwise neither of us will survive. Now go. Yang Zhang merely looked up at Li Hu, silently stepped forward, lifted him over his shoulder, and continued running toward the iron gate. Li Hu, when we became sworn brothers, we agreed to live and die together. Either we both run or we both die. No more nonsense. Hearing his brother Yang Zhang's roar, Li Hu's eyes reddened instantly. As the son of Li Xuanxiang, one of the direct descendants of the 3rd generation of Long Mountain, Li Hu had never truly enjoyed the privileges of a legitimate heir. The reason was simple, he was an illegitimate child. His birth resulted from a moment of impulse by his father Li Xuanxiang when he was young. Over 20 years ago, Li Xuanxiang led a team to destroy a medium-sized camp. His mother, Li Yuning, was the daughter of that camp's leader. Captured by Li Xuanxiang, Li Yuning naturally became his prize of war, and what happened after that was inevitable. Li Xuanxiang had 3 wives and 11 legitimate children, and countless maids like Li Yuning. As a result, there were many more illegitimate children like Li Hu, no fewer than 30 at least. Even legitimate children rarely received Li Xuanxiang's attention, let alone inconspicuous illegitimate children like Li Hu. Special treatment was unthinkable. Moreover, because of Li Xuanxiang's high status and wealth, the 3 legitimate wives worried that those illegitimate children might have ideas they shouldn't, so they often made things difficult for them. If any illegitimate child showed too much promise, they might even provoke fatal repercussions. Growing up in such an environment and reaching the point of leading earth-digging expeditions was no easy feat for Li Hu. At 9, he witnessed his mother, Li Yuning, being forced to death by his so-called 3rd mother, Zhu Ru. From then on, he only harbored hatred for Li Xuanxiang and Long Mountain. If he hadn't met his good brother Yang Zhang that year, he would have either left Long Mountain or fought desperately against his so-called 3rd mother Zhu Ru. Apart from these 2 paths to destruction, there were no other possibilities. Yang Zhang's father, also a core member of Long Mountain's cold resistance level, was divine archer Yang Fengping. Coincidentally or unfortunately, Yang Zhang was also an illegitimate child. Even more coincidental was that Yang Zhang's mother was also forced to death by the main wife. Because that main wife was too domineering, even Yang Zhang, as an illegitimate child, was unacknowledged by Yang Fengping and could only be fostered in a place in Long Mountain dedicated to raising orphans. Due to their similar experiences, the 2 quickly built a friendship once they met. As they grew through ambushes in Long Mountain, from breaking through the logging realm to the earth-digging realm, to joining the hunting team, and later forming their own team, their friendship deepened into an extremely strong bond. Both had a zeal for avenging their mothers, and they were aware that due to their status, it was difficult to break through to the cold resistance level by staying in Long Mountain. They had long agreed that once they reached the earth-digging realm limit, they would leave Long Mountain for Xia Hong or seek another giant camp to help them break through to cold resistance level. This expedition, as long as there are enough enemy kills, there will be beast blood as a reward. Recalling the words heard before the expedition, Li Hu was full of regret. If not tempted, he wouldn't be in this death trap now, and he wouldn't be dragging his good brother Yang Zhang to die alongside him. Zhang, how much basic strength do you have now? 27,000, about the same as you, don't you know? Hearing Yang Zhang's response, Li Hu turned back, saw Wuxing just 5 or 6 meters away, revealed a determination, pushed Yang Zhang away first and then turned back, lunging towards Wuxing. Zhang, if you survive and break through to the cold resistance level, remember to avenge my mother for me, and also look into that place I mentioned before. Hu Zai no. Seeing his brother's actions, Yang Zhang immediately understood his intent and roared with clenched teeth, attempting to follow and save him. At this moment, the bond between the two seemed to elevate once more. Unfortunately, Yang Zhang was still too slow. In just 5 or 6 meters, Li Hu turned and lunged directly in front of Wuxing, almost throwing himself into the path of Wuxing's blue fire saber. His intention was clear, to stall Wuxing for a moment and give Yang Zhang a chance to escape. But the instant he turned back, Li Hu immediately realized his naivety. Chapter 578, Chapter 248, Li Hu and Yang Zhang, Saving Lives and Destroying Evil Part 2. The blue flame saber of Wuxing became even stronger than before. The people slashed by the saber now not only had dewdrops appearing on their wounds. The dew on those people's wounds quickly heated up to red, and in an instant they were ignited by the blue flames surrounding Wuxing's body. Then the entire person would be consumed by the blue flames, letting out a scream of desperate agony. In Li Hu's eyes at this moment, each time Wuxing's saber struck someone, clusters of blue flames would instantly ignite, and those blue flames would ignite the dew on others nearby. Boom, 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 boom. Thus, the thousands within the earth-digging realm outside the valley at this moment were like matches waiting to be lit, and Wuxing was the open flame, crazily igniting everyone while letting out a manic laugh. How could Li Hu not despair at such a scene? What he just thought was to risk his life to hold onto Wuxing, even if only to delay him for a breath or even half a breath. Then Yang Zhang's chance of escape would increase slightly. Only now did he realize that in front of Wuxing, he couldn't even get close. As soon as he got close, the dew on his legs would instantly be ignited. And in fact, there were indeed blue flames emerging from his legs right now. Sizzle! The pain in his thigh surged into his mind, and Li Hu thought of his deceased mother, his face full of unwillingness. He hadn't yet avenged her, hadn't fulfilled her dying wish to see her home, and even less had he completed the promise to his brother Yang Zhang to avenge him. Hu Zai! Yang Zhang's shout reached his ears, and Li Hu no longer worried about the safety of his good brother. Thinking to himself he would go first, he directly closed his eyes. Buzz! An ethereal, heavy voice entered his mind, and the pain in his thigh disappeared completely. Li Hu, who thought he had died, first showed a relieved expression, but then was full of astonishment when he opened his eyes again and saw the scene in front of him. He hadn't died, he was still standing in place. And the blue flame on his legs had vanished. Not only him, but also the blue flames on many people around him, as well as on many corpses within the valley, disappeared in an instant. Boom! A pale golden four-legged giant cauldron suddenly descended from the sky, hitting the ground with a loud crash, transforming into a 7-meter-tall form. The 4 sides of the square cauldron were engraved with dozens of cold beast patterns, and within the giant cauldron, flames several meters high were raging, illuminating the entire valley with their light. All the eyes of the survivors were drawn to it. Where did this cauldron come from? Whoosh! The same question subconsciously popped into Li Hu's mind. But he immediately realized that this wasn't the issue to be concerned with right now. Because Wuxing was right in front of him. The moment the giant cauldron appeared, Wuxing's expression carried a hint of panic, but he reacted quickly, seemingly realizing he needed to kill more people, and immediately charged into the crowd ahead. And the crowd before him at the forefront was Li Hu. Whoosh! The only blue flame still burning in the entire area was possibly on Wuxing, and in his hands on that big saber, the terrifying blade edge slashing towards him. Li Hu instinctively turned to run, but with the injuries on his legs, combined with Wuxing's terrifying speed, he didn't have the slightest chance to escape. Still going to die. Clang! A narrow long blade suddenly blocked in front of Li Hu. The moment the long blade came into contact with the blue flames, the resulting shockwave caused the snow on the ground to spread outwards for more than 10 meters. Even without direct contact, the terrifying impact sent Li Hu flying over 10 meters, crashing directly into Yang Zhang, and together they were pushed to the edge of the iron gate. In the chaos, Li Hu turned his head to look at the position just now, and his gaze suddenly condensed. The owner of that long blade was tall, dressed in silk black clothes, clearly not ordinary. The narrow straight blade in his hand was as long as 1.70 meters, longer than seemed reasonable. He held the blade with both hands, clashing fiercely with Wuxing's blue fire saber, their strength in a stalemate with Wuxing's. No, not just a stalemate. The blue flames attached to Wuxing's saber actually rose up in a normal yellow flame under the counter of that man's blade. Moreover, the yellow flame seemed to counteract the blue flame. That feeling, it was as if the normal fire was burning the blue flame. It's the Lord who was killed by Li Xuanling and the others. If the giant cauldron appearing and saving him the first time hadn't brought much emotion to Li Hu's heart, then the black-clothed man who saved him the second time now truly made him filled with gratitude. He recognized Xia Hong at a glance. Previously, when Li Xuanling was hunting, although it was with the Longyu army, Li Hu was also watching from the side. It's that man, I think his name is Xia Hong, the leader of Great Xia. Li Xuanling, with so many cold resistance levels and 1,000 Longyu soldiers, couldn't successfully hunt him down. Needless to say, Li Hu and Yang Zhang both remembered clearly. It's that man I remember too. That big cauldron, is it his too? Is he here to rescue us? How could it be? Just now the young master brought people to hunt him down. Why would he want to rescue us? Then why did he attack Wuxing? Not only Li Hu and Yang Zhang, but most of the thousands of people in the valley also recognized Xia Hong. Watching the standoff between Xia Hong and Wuxing, they were puzzled, but their eyes could not help but hold some expectations. Most of those present were from the earth-digging realm of the Long Mountain and Jieyang families. Li Xuanling and Hu Tong had already fled with all the cold resistance levels. They were already full of despair, so when they saw Xia Hong, they naturally began to hope. What are you still standing there for? Hurry up and run to the southwest. Someone is waiting. Their expectations came true. Hearing Xia Hong's words, most people's eyes were full of joy, and without thinking, they turned and ran out of the iron gate. A few, remembering what had just happened and looking at Xia Hong, felt a bit complicated, but thinking that saving their lives was more important, they quickly ran out of the iron gate. 30 manes almost catching up to me, if I let you keep killing. Seeing people start to run towards the iron gate, Xia Hong turned to look at Wuxing in front of him. A glint flashed in his left eye and he sneered. Before he finished speaking, he suddenly drew his saber and slashed directly at Wuxing's head. Whoosh! The slender blade, combined with Xia Hong's terrifying strength, made a sound like a speeding needle, and in an instant it split towards Wuxing's head. Clang! Wuxing hastily raised his saber to block. Although he successfully protected his head, his face did not show a smile, but his expression became even more serious. Sizzle! The blue flames on the saber, once it contacted Xia Hong's blade, rose up again with the previous normal flame, and the flames burned more vigorously, gradually replacing the original blue flames on his saber. Not only the saber, but the blue flames on his body were also being suppressed and becoming smaller and smaller. Wuxing raised his head to meet Xia Hong's gaze, saw the mockery in his eyes, and a surge of anger rose on his face, his eyes suddenly hardening. Sizzle! He actually withdrew the saber, letting Xia Hong's saber slash towards him. Such a godsend opportunity would not be missed by Xia Hong. He tightly gripped the dragon sparrow saber covered with solidified fire oil with both hands and slashed down fiercely, almost from the skull top all the way to Wuxing's lower body. Boom! Just like Wuxing killing those ordinary earth-digging realms with one slash, flames rose from the parts of Wuxing's body that were cut open by Xia Hong's slash. However, they were not blue but normal flames. Sizzle! Suddenly, Wuxing's body spewed out a large amount of white smoke, and at the same time, an extremely bloodthirsty and eerie laughter rang out from not far away. However, this laughter did not last for 3 breaths. It was interrupted by the sound of an iron arrow piercing through the air. Whoosh! Xia Hong, holding the divine arm bow, turned his head to look at Wuxing, more than 100 meters away on the left, who had recondensed a body, using the corpses on the ground, his eyes full of coldness. The iron arrow shot out just now had steadily penetrated Wuxing's brow, the solidified fire oil on the arrow having an obvious and intense reaction with Wuxing's body, making black smoke constantly rise from his head, and later, flames gradually emerged from within. The Wuxing, transformed by the white Dugu, finally stopped laughing. This time, accompanied by rolling black smoke, he emitted an extremely painful howl, and looking at Xia Hong, his eyes were full of immense hatred. You can freely change bodies among these corpses infected by the dew. Your ability seems much stronger than those freaks before. Almost let you grow big, but unfortunately, you ran into my eye of truth. PSHH, PSHH, PSHH. Xia Hong, with a cold smile, spoke while continuously shooting iron arrows soaked in solidified fire oil with the divine arm bow. Each iron arrow that was inserted into Wuxing's body caused the flames on him to intensify a notch. After dozens of iron arrows had been fired, Wuxing's body was already engulfed in flames, and besides intense painful howls, he could say nothing. Chapter 579, Chapter 249, Secret Passage, Hanfeng, 1 step. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The flames emitted by the cold ruins tripod illuminated the 3 sacred marks on Xia Hong's forehead, making them shine brilliantly. His gaze was sharp. Even after Wuxing had completely gone silent, he did not approach but continued to shoot arrows incessantly. The divine arm bow came with a total of 50 specially crafted iron arrows. Xia Hong only stopped after he had exhausted all the arrows and then slowly walked over to Wuxing. Wuxing's head was pierced with iron arrows, resembling a hedgehog. The flames generated by the reaction with the solidified fire oil continued to burn. Unlike a normal body, beneath Wuxing's skin membrane were not usual human flesh and blood, but clusters of white dew pearls. After being melted by the flames, these dew pearls slowly condensed into a liquid form of azure blue. Seeing these liquid substances, Xia Hong's eyes instantly lit up. He quickly took out a wooden box he had prepared on himself. 1 drop, 2 drops, 3 drops, 15 drops. By the time Wuxing's body was entirely burned, a total of 30 drops had been produced. Just as expected, this white dew goo and the cold apple jade dew share the same origin. Xia Hong looked at the 30 azure blue liquid drops in the wooden box. He reached out to touch them, feeling their extremely high temperature, and his eyes were filled with joy. He had seen the cold apple jade dew once in Zhejiang. Now, the 30 drops lying in the box were clearly identical to it. After the thick smoke passed, only the skeleton of Wuxing's body remained. Xia Hong surveyed the entire outer valley, and finding no one, directly headed towards the direction of the inner valley. From his appearance to the slaying of the white Dugu, the whole process had lasted more than an hour. Therefore, all living beings in and out of the valley had basically fled. The entire Hankyang station was now deserted, utterly silent. He had stayed in Hankyang for a day or 2 before, so Xia Hong knew well which wooden houses were inhabited. But as he opened each wooden house, his expression grew increasingly somber. It wasn't until he had searched through all the quarters in the station that he heaved a heavy sigh. At least more than half have died. The monstrous strength of this creature against ordinary people is simply too immense. Even without actively attacking them, it killed this many people merely by infecting with dew pearls. If it had lasted any longer, I'm afraid no one in Hankyang would have survived. A shadow passed through Xia Hong's eyes as he entered the main building of Hankyang, walked up to the top floor, and found the largest room. Seeing the room completely tidy with no signs of disturbance, Xia Hong's eyes gleamed with joy. He quickly started searching the room. This room, even Hu Tong rarely entered. He had noticed it when he was here earlier. Coupled with the luxurious furnishings throughout the room, it was unsurprising that this was likely the room of the leader, Han Jiulai. As the leader, Han Jiulai likely had several valuable items. According to the news brought back from Yuancheng, Han Jiulai had supposedly died along with Wuxing on Yangyuan Peak. If so, all these valuable items would naturally belong to him now. However, after searching the room for a long time, Xia Hong still found nothing. It doesn't make sense. A leader wouldn't take everything with him when going out. Even he left quite a few valuable items in his room at the station. After Xia Chuan took Wu Shuang by surprise, he also found many precious materials in Wu Xing's room, including a large silver ingot. Thud thud. Continuing to explore the room, Xia Hong occasionally tapped his foot on the ground. It was not long before the sound beneath the main bed caught his attention. Hollow. Xia Hong stomped a couple more times and sensed that the inside of the bed was indeed hollow. With great interest, he exerted some force. Bam! The bed collapsed, revealing a deep dark passage leading downstairs. Xia Hong glanced at the messy footprints near the entrance of the passage, raised an eyebrow, and jumped directly inside. The main building of Hankyang was built leaning against the stone wall on the east side, standing 15 stories tall and more than 70 meters high. After jumping into the passage, Xia Hong fell for 50 meters before landing on the ground and saw a tunnel leading eastwards. The east stone wall was part of Twin Dragon Mountain, which meant this tunnel led into the mountainside of Twin Dragon Mountain. Xia Hong's eyes lit up instantly. He especially lit a torch and followed the tunnel, noticing that the entire passage consistently rose from low to high, making his gaze burn with excitement. Perhaps it leads to the top of Twin Dragon Mountain. Whoosh! As Xia Hong sped through the passage, a gust of wind whistled past his ear. His expression tensed slightly. He abruptly halted, drawing his saber to block the top. Clang crack. What came down from above was a large saber. The large saber had decent quality. Although it clashed violently with Xia Hong's dragon sparrow saber and did not break at first, Xia Hong's subsequent deliberate upward force eventually broke it. With the power of EIGHT Chinese letter, your Han Jiulai's son, Han Feng, am I correct? The owner of the large saber was barely in his 30s, remarkably young compared to his strength. A thoughtful look appeared in Xia Hong's eyes as he revealed the opponent's identity with a straightforward remark. Hankyang Camp had 3 cold resistance levels. The leader, Han Jiulai, and Wu Lin had both encountered incidents on Yangyuan Peak, leaving only Han Feng who had never shown up. From the first day in Hankyang Station, Xia Hong was puzzled as to why Han Feng had never appeared, though he later understood. Hu Tong's initial intention likely was not to cooperate with Hankyang. Bringing 1,500 Earth-digging realm individuals, plus 5 cold resistance level individuals, effectively accomplished a hostile takeover of Hankyang. Chapter 580, Chapter 249, The Secret Passage Han Feng 1 step /2. In such a situation, Han Feng wasn't clear about the actual circumstances on Yangyuan Peak. If he wasn't willing to defect to Zhejiang, he would have had no choice but to escape. Now it seems, Han Feng obviously didn't run away, but has been hiding in the shadows the whole time. The most commendable thing about Jiulai is probably that he raised a remarkable son. At 28 years old, he reached the late stage of cold resistance level, and looking across all of Longyu, apart from that monster Li Xuanling, probably no one can match him. Recalling Hu's evaluation of Han Feng during the time in Zhejiang, Xia Hong's eyes lit up with interest. He then noticed the flickering light from a passage behind Han Feng and praised. It seems you took advantage of the chaos and rescued quite a few people. Hu Tong and Li Xuanling have all run away. Those whom your father took out were slaughtered by the monstrosities on Yangyuan Peak. With these people, where can you go? Why not join the great Xia camp with them? What do you think? Han Feng's talent, in Xia Hong's opinion, would only earn a decent evaluation. The great Xia has many stronger than him. Yuan Dao, Xia Chuan, Yuan Cheng, Qiu Peng, Lin Kai, Yue Feng, Lu Yang. The list goes on. What truly sparked Xia Hong's interest in recruiting was Han Feng's outstanding character. Han Feng, though unwilling to defect to Zhejiang, also didn't escape alone. Instead, he stayed hidden in the dark path for days, waiting for a chance to rescue people. Judging from the footprints left in the path, it's likely he proactively went out to rescue people when Wu Xing was killing in the valley. This alone is enough to prove his pure and good nature. Moreover, staying hidden in the dark path for so many days without being discovered by Hu Tong and others shows he's also intelligent and agile. Such a young cold resistance level with great talent and exceptional character was enough for Xia Hong to develop recruitment intentions. Besides, the Hankyang camp is gone, and the area of Gourd Valley, including the more than 10,000 survivors from Hankyang, should logically be under the Great Xia. If Han Feng, as the son of the leader, could be recruited first, it would save a lot of trouble in the future. However, it seems the other party is not interested in being recruited. In the dark path, aided by the flickering light, Xia Hong saw the wariness in Han Feng's eyes. Xia Hong's brow furrowed slightly, and he asked in a deep voice, "Judging from those footprints, you at least saved over 1,000 people. With your abilities, leading over 1,000 people to live like before is basically impossible." Noticing the evident resistance on Han Feng's face, Xia Hong paused and frowned. "The ones who destroyed Hankyang are Hu Tong. At least you should blame Zhejiang and Hu for it. If you looked more deeply, the one who killed so many in Hankyang was Wu Xing, controlled by White Dugu. I killed it. I should be considered your benefactor, shouldn't I? You have no reason to be wary of me, right? Hu Tong and Hu are not good people. That White Dugu which killed so many of my Hankyang is also no good. But essentially, you're no different from them, even harsher in some respects." Hearing Han Feng's words, Xia Hong was momentarily stunned, but the following sentence from him made Xia Hong's expression slightly harden, plunging him into silence. "You deliberately waited until Li Xuanling, Hu Tong, and those 11 cold resistance levels all escaped before you killed that White Dugu. Wasn't it all to annex our Hankyang camp?" Although Han Feng was speaking, his gaze would occasionally flick back. Watching the group he rescued run far along the dark path, he finally breathed a slight sigh of relief. Then he turned back to look at Xia Hong, with a hint of a cold smile on his face. Xia Hong had just stood motionless at the entrance to the valley, and only after seeing Li Xuanling and others escape did he suddenly act to kill White Dugu. This entire process was clearly visible to Han Feng from the hole halfway up the cliff face. He's no fool. He quickly figured out Xia Hong's intentions at the time. No more than wanting the monstrosities to kill Li Xuanling and the others, but this intent clearly wasn't achieved as all 11 of them escaped. And after all 11 cold resistance levels had escaped, Xia Hong appeared in the guise of a savior, rescuing the earth-digging realm from Long Mountain, Zhejiang and Hankyang, as well as all other normal people, becoming the biggest winner of the night. Others didn't know. Upon seeing Xia Hong appear, they regarded him as a savior. But Han Feng, seeing everything clearly, had only vigilance and strong resistance in his eyes towards Xia Hong. Even the opposing Li Xuanling and Hu Tong, upon realizing the danger of White Dugu, immediately set aside their animosity to join forces against the monstrosity. But the Xia Hong before him had the power to slay the monstrosity, yet for the sake of maximizing benefits, chose to stand by idly until all 11 had escaped before saving people. He didn't exactly hate Xia Hong, after all. If not for Xia Hong, more people at Hankyang camp would have died, and Han Feng wouldn't have had the chance to rescue so many. But the issue is, Xia Hong's actions left a significant impact on Han Feng, and at the very least in his view, whether Li Xuanling or Hu Tong, when it comes to ruthlessness, are probably no match for Xia Hong before him. So he resisted Xia Hong's recruitment. "You're a kind-hearted person." Xia Hong, who had been silent for a long time, finally spoke. His face showed no remorse. Understanding the reason behind Han Feng's reluctance towards his recruitment only made him more appreciative. After such praise, Xia Hong's expression slightly darkened and continued. "Hiding in the dark path for days without running away, daring to come out to save people when things got dangerous, proves you're not just looking out for yourself, you still have compassion for others. Given that, I'll tell you a very simple truth, as well as the reason for my actions just now." Chapter 581, Chapter 249, Secret Passage, Han Feng, First Step /3. Xia Hong paused, his tone mildly stern. Whose provocation has already pierced through the Longyu alliance. "In my view, a divided and mutually hostile Longyu poses no less a threat to humanity than the sinister creatures. Just now, I indeed allowed those creatures to kill, but if the sacrifice of this small group can bring a faster end to Longyu's current division, then it benefits many more people who remain. Do you understand?" "You mean, the one to unify Longyu in the future is Great Xia." How could Han Feng not understand Xia Hong's meaning? Yet the more he understood, the more he sneered. He didn't doubt Xia Hong's personal strength, but to suggest that the unremarkable Great Xia could deal with both Long Mountain and Zhejiang, ultimately unifying the Longyu land, he simply couldn't believe it. "It certainly will be, and can only be, Great Xia." Xia Chuan's voice suddenly came from the rear of the passage, answering Han Feng. "Big brother. Leader." They. Coming from the back of the passage were not only Xia Chuan, but Luo Yuan, Zhao Long, and 3 others. The 6 of them, seeing Xia Hong unharmed, immediately breathed a sigh of relief and quickly bowed, then turned to look at Han Feng on the other side of the passage, their eyes showing a hint of coldness as they drew their weapons and slowly approached him. "Forget it, let him go." Xia Hong waved his hand slightly, stopping them from acting. Seeing Han Feng's somewhat bewildered expression, he shook his head and said, "You will understand me someday." Then Xia Hong remembered something, took out a small package from his bosom, and tossed it directly to Han Feng, saying, "This stuff applied to the skin can cure dew drops." Han Feng caught the package, gave Xia Hong a deep look, cupped his fists, and though instinctively wanting to express thanks, held his words back and turned away directly. "Big brother, who is this person?" Xia Chuan, having apparently only come near, heard Han Feng's last question. Seeing Xia Hong let the person go, he immediately asked curiously. Xia Hong slightly shook his head, not answering him, and instead asked Xia Chuan, "Didn't I tell you to meet up with them in the southwest? How did you end up here?" Xia Chuan immediately nodded. "We rendezvoused over 10,000 people southwest, already sent someone to lead them to the Wushwang camp. Too much time had passed, and we were worried you were in danger, so we came to Hankyang to find you. Then we discovered a secret passage on the top floor of the main building and followed it here. Over 10,000 people, including the earth-digging realm from the 3 families." Hearing this question, Luo Yuan immediately answered excitedly. "Leader, we assisted a total of 17,421 people, of which 2,931 are earth-digging realm. After a preliminary inquiry, there are people from Long Mountain, Zhejiang, and Hankyang among them. The remaining 14,490 are all Hankyang's people. Only a few still carry dew drops, so we have distributed solidified fire oil. Once confirmed free of dew drops, they'll be allowed into the Wushwang camp." Seeing the excitement on Luo Yuan's face, Xia Hong said with a strange expression, "Why so excited? You don't think all 3,000 earth-digging realm will become great Xia's people, do you?" Luo Yuan was taken aback by these words, and Xia Chuan and the others also showed confusion. These people's lives were saved by the leader. If they don't join Great Xia, what do they intend to return to their original camps? "I've just inquired clearly, Li Xuanling, Hu Tong, and the others, they abandoned these people outright. If they still want to return to their original camps, their minds must be muddled." Upon hearing Xia Chuan and Zhao Long's words, Xia Hong immediately shook his head. "A life-saving grace is a life-saving grace. I don't doubt these people are grateful to me, but I'm not overly optimistic about how many would change allegiance because of it. Even if there are, they would be scarce as phoenix feathers or unicorn horns. Most of these earth-digging realm are not young, many have families and they grew up in their camps, living not poorly. Their relationships with the core figures of their camps are extremely complex. It's impossible for them to casually change allegiance, and even if some did, it wouldn't be to the extent of ignoring their families. So." Upon hearing Xia Hong's explanation, Xia Chuan and the others immediately realized, their expressions turning not so optimistic. It's manageable for Hankyang's people since their camp is gone, and besides joining Great Xia, they have no other options. But the earth-digging realm of the other 2 families. Qiu Peng pondered for a moment, a harsh look flashing in his eyes, and said sternly, "If you ask me, the leader shouldn't have saved these earth-digging realm. Letting them return to their own camps might mean confronting our Great Xia later. It's better to let that white dew goo kill them all." Zhao Long was even more aggressive, continuing, "No, we shouldn't let the 2 families' earth-digging realm go. Directly bring them to Great Xia, throw them into the mines, and make them mining slaves like in the beehive." Hearing this, everyone's eyes immediately lit up. Even Xia Chuan thought it was a good idea, quickly turning to look at Xia Hong. "Leader, this is feasible. Like the beehive, put them in iron chains and let them stay in the mines forever." "Vision, you need to look further ahead." Xia Hong directly interrupted Xia Chuan's words, speaking with some depth, and seeing everyone's puzzled expressions, he shook his head and said, "The beehive's approach is killing the chicken to get the eggs. There's no need for us to mimic. Letting this group go back is actually Great Xia's first real step in taking Longyu. Think over it slowly. For now, let's return to Wushwang." Xia Hong had no intention of explaining further, only letting them think it over on their own, then led the way toward the passageway entrance. "Seal this passage and prepare to send people to take over Gourd Valley." "Yes, leader." Chapter 582, Chapter 250, Rescue, Intimidation, and Surprise. "My child is dying, help, help." I'm burning up, save me, save me. Help, help, Waya. They. At the Wushuang giant stone camp on the largest open space, a throng of people gathered, filling the area with desperate cries for help. From time to time, there were bursts of flames, followed by intense screams and wails of pain. From their clothing, it was clear these people had fled from the Hankyang side. They were divided into 3 groups, with the largest covering the right side, occupying about 90% of the total, while the left and middle groups were smaller, totaling about 16 or 1,700 people. Though the scene was extremely chaotic, upon closer inspection, one could see that the people in these 3 groups were not randomly jumbled together, maintaining a distance of over 1 meter from each other. Furthermore, people in pale golden armor were moving back and forth, maintaining order while using the black oily substance in their hands to save people. Captain, it's not good, there are too many people, and it's noisy and chaotic. We have only about 1,400 people, and we need to assign some to guard those from the earth-digging realm. The speed at which we are saving people can't keep up. We're running out of time. And disturbances keep breaking out. We need to send people to suppress them. It's not working. The droplets are still spreading. Our people are getting infected too. We can't continue like this. We have to think of a solution. Many people don't know about solidified fire oil and have started to give up, inciting others to disturb the peace. On the high platform at the forefront of the open space, upon hearing the reports from 4 subordinates, Liu Yang's eyes filled with agitation, and seeing another disturbance breaking out on the left side, his eyes turned sharp as he drew the horizontal blade from his waist and walked over. Brothers, we're trapped here with no way out. Better to follow me and fight our way out to return to Zhejiang to find the leader. There might still be hope. That's right, follow Hu Jing and fight our way out, brothers. Kill. The 800 people on the left were from Zhejiang's earth-digging realm. As Liu Yang approached and heard the words of the one inciting disturbance, he immediately frowned, especially seeing 7 or 8 people being stirred by him and standing up to resist. He raised his horizontal blade and rushed over quickly. Thud, thud, thud. Liu Yang, with swift movements, cut down the 8 who were about to cause a commotion, causing several nearby from the great Xia earth-digging realm to be startled. If even they were like this, needless to say, the nearby crowd from Zhejiang's earth-digging realm was instantly terrified into silence, not daring to make any sound. A few people who initially intended to move also returned to their places quietly, with downcast eyes. Liu Yang turned his head to survey the square, and seeing another disturbance at the other end, he raised his voice and shouted. Lin Kai, Zhao Hu, Zhao Bao, and all others in charge, listen up. Anyone who dares to move will be killed immediately. If anything happens, I will take responsibility. Thud, thud. Almost as soon as he finished speaking, in the middle and right side areas, the sounds of cutting and killing erupted one after another. After 3 or 4 waves of such sounds, the crowd in the square immediately quieted down. Everyone shut their mouths. Even small children covered their mouths tightly, with only a few infants who hadn't been covered in time managing to let out a few cries. Once the square quieted down, Liu Yang returned to the high platform immediately. Liu Yang's voice had been so loud just now that everyone knew it was him who ordered the killings, and naturally, they focused their attention on him. Knowing that everyone was watching him, Liu Yang dared not waste time. He pointed to a young woman in her 20s holding a baby on the right side and ordered, "Someone bring this mother and child up here." "Spare us, sir, I didn't move. Please, sir, spare me. Seeing 2 great Xia soldiers come to drag her, the woman thought Liu Yang intended to kill her child, and her face showed fear as she continually pleaded with Liu Yang. But the 2 great Xia soldiers paid her no heed, dragging her to the high platform and bringing her beside Liu Yang. Liu Yang ignored the woman's pleas and directly snatched the bawling baby from her arms. The woman thought he was going to kill her child and immediately knelt down, begging, don't kill my child, please, sir." The people from Hankyang Station on the right, witnessing this scene, noticeably drew heavier breaths, and some from the earth-digging realm even stepped forward, obviously wanting to help the woman and save the child. But the next moment, the woman's cries abruptly stopped, and those from the earth-digging realm gazed at the high platform with a look of bewilderment. Liu Yang didn't kill. Instead, he opened the baby's clothing, showcasing the droplets appearing on its body to everyone, then took out a small piece of solidified fire oil, crushed it, and evenly applied it to the infant's body. In just a moment, the droplets on the baby emitted a sizzling sound, after which Lu Yang wiped, and the droplets vanished completely. The baby, who had been crying due to the rising body temperature, immediately stopped crying, even let out a crisp laugh. That black oil block can counteract the droplets. It really works. I just saw it with my own eyes and you didn't believe me. Chapter 583, Chapter 250, Rescue, Intimidation and Surprise, Part 2. Those people in light gold armor have been using solidified fire oil to save people, didn't you see? There's hope we don't have to die. In fact, the great Xia soldiers had been using solidified fire oil to rescue people, but because there were too many people, many simply didn't notice. Plus, the dew exploding on some people made those who saw it even more panicked, causing continuous unrest. At this moment, since Lu Yang had his hand raised the entire time, the dew on the infant gradually dissipated, eventually turning into ordinary water droplets, which Lu Yang wiped away, visible to everyone. Realizing that great Xia indeed had a way to save them, hope instantly ignited in everyone's hearts. The fear in their eyes when looking at Lu Yang was replaced by hope and longing. See, we have a way to save people. Now listen to me, everyone line up in 3 queues, Long Mountain, Jieyang and Hankyang. Everyone will receive it. I will also have people patrolling in the middle, and in more urgent situations they will be prioritized. But let me say this up front, if any queue causes chaos, I will stop distributing immediately, so don't blame me then. As soon as Lu Yang finished speaking, the more than 10,000 people below fell silent. With the assistance of the great Xia soldiers, all obediently formed 3 long queues to receive solidified fire oil one by one. The scene was finally under control. Once the distribution of solidified fire oil was arranged, Lu Yang breathed a slight sigh of relief. Seeing Lin Kai, Zhao Hu, and others in the crowd giving him a thumbs up, he felt a bit proud. Minister was right, these people won't listen until they see blood. Previously, when Wuxing caused a rebellion, Xia Chuan's approach was to stop it with killing. Although bloody, it was very effective. Lu Yang's handling method was a complete replication of Xia Chuan's previous approach. Seeing the effectiveness of this method, Lu Yang naturally agreed with Xia Chuan's last words even more. That thing can actually eliminate dew, it's amazing. Among the 3 groups of people in Jieyang's queue, Yang Zhang received a small piece of solidified fire oil, and after removing the dew from himself, he walked to the back of the crowd with Li Hu, eyes full of curiosity. Li Hu, who received solidified fire oil before him and whose legs had already recovered, nodded upon hearing this and said, I heard at Long Mountain that only silver can handle mystical creatures, but silver is too precious for ordinary people to afford. It's amazing that Great Xia has such a divine thing. Few people knew about silver's restraining properties on mystical creatures, but Li Hu and Yang Zhang were exceptions, so they were even more aware of the preciousness of the solidified fire oil they had just used. The key is that they're willing to give it to ordinary people like us. Hu Zai, we've always wanted to leave Long Mountain, right? This is a great opportunity. I'll go find those adults later, okay? Li Hu immediately nodded, a hint of excitement showing on his face, then thinking of something. He saw Yang Zhang's eager expression and smiled. No rush. Why do you think Leader Xia risked his life to save us and gave us solidified fire oil? You're right. Yang Zhang quickly realized and nodded. Great Xia's actions were essentially to recruit this group of people, so he didn't need to actively find someone. Probably soon someone from Great Xia would speak up. But Yang Zhang looked around at the people, then looked at the queue from Long Mountain, smiling. Aside from those over 10,000 from Hankyang, the people from Long Mountain and Jieyang truly willing to join Great Xia shouldn't be many. Both Long Mountain and Jieyang were part of the earth-digging realm. Regardless of their loyalty to their own camp, most of these people had families, so they wouldn't easily want to change allegiances. Li Hu of course understood what Yang Zhang meant, but he turned to look at Lu Yang and other cold resistance-level people on the high platform, thinking of how they had just deterred everyone by killing. He immediately sneered. Certainly not many, but I bet they won't have a choice. From Lu Yang's actions just now, it was clear that Great Xia wasn't a pushover. With the leader personally rescuing people and using so much solidified fire oil to help them, it was clear they wouldn't let them leave for free. Hearing you say that, my impression of Great Xia isn't that good, but leaving Long Mountain is good for us in a way. Let's stay in Great Xia for now, and if it doesn't work out, we can find somewhere else. Hearing Yang Zhang's words, Li Hu nodded. Look quickly, Leader Xia is back. That mystical creature, he must have killed it right. Obviously, can't you see his joyous smile? Hearing voices from the crowd, Yang Zhang and Li Hu turned to look at the high platform. On the high platform, 7 more people had appeared at some point, headed by a man in black clothes. It was Xia Hong, who had just saved them in Gourd Valley. As the crowd said, Xia Hong being here with a smile proved that the battle over in the valley was likely won by him. Thinking of that mystical creature that scared away the likes of Li Xuanling and other cold resistance level experts, who ended up defeated by Xia Hong, admiration instantly appeared on Li Hu's face. Especially seeing Lu Yang and others who just now seemed proud, now humble in front of Xia Hong, admiration rose even higher. Chapter 584, Chapter 250, Rescue, Intimidation and Surprise Part 3. The young master brought so many cold resistance level soldiers, along with over 1,000 Longyu troops, and still couldn't kill him. This leader Xia's strength in all of Longyu is second only to Li Tianhua. Upon hearing the name Li Tianhua, Li Hu's expression flickered with discomfort, but he quickly sneered and said, "How old is Li Tianhua now? Even if he's stronger, so what? Look carefully, how old is leader Xia?" Yang Zhang, who had never noticed Xia Hong's age, was reminded by Li Hu and immediately stared at Xia Hong's face. As soon as he looked, his expression froze. Why do I feel like he's even younger than the young master? Before Yang Zhang finished his sentence, Li Hu immediately pulled him down by the head. The two of them exchanged glances, and both appeared slightly tense. Did I see it right? Was he just looking at us? Of course he sensed it. With his level of power, if you stare at him this close, how could he not notice? Stop talking nonsense. Brother, do you know those two? On the platform, noticing Xia Hong's gaze fixed on the two not far away, Xia Chuan glanced over and immediately asked curiously. Xia Hong shook his head and smiled. Their names are quite interesting. Just as Xia Chuan was about to inquire further, Qiu Peng approached with a face full of confusion and said, "Leader, are you really going to release all these people? The earth-digging realm from Long Mountain and Jieyang combined have 1,672 people. If we let them go back, they might be our enemies in the future. If you can't understand, think about it slowly later. Do as I said for now." Just now in the dark passage, Xia Hong was unwilling to explain much. Now back at Wushuang, he even less so. Even though Xia Chuan and a number of cold resistance levels clearly showed agreement with Qiu Peng's concerns, he still chose to decisively make an independent decision, leaving only one sentence before departing the square and heading towards the Wushuang main building. "Understood, leader." Though Qiu Peng and the others didn't understand, seeing Xia Hong leave directly, they didn't say anything further. After nodding in agreement, they began to carry out his orders. The current most important organizational unit in Great Xia is the hunting team, where the rule is that members can voice dissent, but once the captain makes a final decision, everyone else must unconditionally comply. This rule has permeated every aspect of the camp. So Xia Hong's present decision must be followed unconditionally. No matter how perplexed they are, they have no choice. The Cold Ruins tripod, of course, has the effect of eradicating dewdrops, but it requires substantial contact to be effective. Simply being within its temperature radiation range only suppresses the dewdrops, preventing them from heating up and exploding. To eradicate them completely, solidified fire oil must be used. When he brought out the Cold Ruins tripod in Gourd Valley, Xia Hong realized this. He certainly couldn't have people queuing up to touch the Cold Ruins tripod. The solidified fire oil brought from Xia City this time is ample enough. Just before his arrival, quite a few people at Wushuang Square had their dewdrops ignite, which caused their death. Once he arrived and placed the Cold Ruins tripod at the Wushuang main building, no one else died in the square. It's so warm. Why did it suddenly get so warm? The warmth is coming from the main building. I saw leader Xia Hong go in. The dewdrops on me seem to have stopped heating up. Nobody's dying anymore. It must be some technique from leader Xia Hong, right? It has to be him. He could even kill that monstrous creature, so surely it's him. The rise in temperature and the suppression of the dewdrop plague happened simultaneously. Everyone turned their heads to look at the main building, their faces filled with astonishment. After a brief exchange of discussions, without exception, their eyes filled with admiration and gratitude. The retreat and escape of Li Xuanling's group within Gourd Valley coupled with Xia Hong's timely appearance with the giant tripod, had already formed a stark contrast in their minds. Adding on the distribution of solidified fire oil by Great Xia, their admiration and gratitude towards Xia Hong surged to a peak. Of course, not everyone shared this sentiment. For instance, the earth-digging realm members from Long Mountain and Jieyang mostly wore expressions of hesitation, as if wanting to say something to Xia Chuan and others on the platform, but not daring to speak up. May I ask how the officials of Great Xia intend to deal with us? Finally, after a long pause, an earth-digging realm member from the Jieyang camp couldn't hold back any longer and addressed Xia Chuan and the others on the platform. As soon as this person spoke, the square fell dead silent with all eyes fixing on the platform, faces full of tension. Especially the earth-digging realm members from Jieyang and Long Mountain, who appeared particularly uneasy. Rest assured you will be released. There's only 1 hour until dawn. You won't get far if you leave now. Once it gets dark tomorrow night, the camp gates will open, and anyone who wishes to leave will be free to do so. But quickly, with Qiu Peng's response, the tension and apprehension vanished from their faces, replaced first by astonishment, then by a look of complex emotions. Great Xia is actually letting us go. Not only the earth-digging realm from Long Mountain and Jieyang, but even those from Hankyang and other ordinary people were noticeably caught off guard by this answer. Sir, we've nowhere else to go. Can we join Great Xia? From the Hankyang side, someone quickly grasped the situation and inquired hurriedly. Upon hearing this, Qiu Peng's previously tense expression relaxed a bit, and he smiled. Of course you can. Whether to stay or leave is entirely up to you. Our Great Xia never forces anyone to join. The over 10,000 people on the Hankyang side visibly relaxed. Whereas among the 1,000+ from Long Mountain and Jieyang, most still showed complex expressions, looking at Xia Chuan and Qiu Peng on the platform, lost in thought. Among the crowd, Yang Zhang and Li Hu appeared particularly astonished. After a glance at each other, their eyes showed a noticeable firming of resolve. Chapter 585. Chapter 251. Understanding win hearts first, then take the next step. The distribution of solidified fire oil proceeded in an orderly manner. Out of the 17,000 rescued from Gourd Valley, only a little over 400 did not survive the outbreak of dew, while the rest were successfully rescued. Meanwhile, dawn broke. Before dawn, Qiu Peng had already arranged for the people from the 3 factions into all the available houses within the Wushuang camp. Unsurprisingly, during this process, all 15,000+ individuals from Hankyang camp expressed their intention to join the Great Xia camp. Among the 1,600 earth-digging realm individuals from Long Mountain and Jieyang, only a negligible number wanted to change their allegiance, totaling about 20 or so. Qiu Peng brought these numbers back to report to Xia Hong at the main building, his tone betraying a disappointment he couldn't quite hide. He clearly wasn't entirely reconciled. Wushuang main building, top-floor hall, Qiu Peng sat down after finishing his report. On either side of the hall were seated Xia Chuan, Luo Yuan, Hong Guang, Hong Tian, Zhao Long, Zhao Hu, Zhao Bao, Zhu Yuan, Lin Kai, Lu Yang, Hong Gang, Huang Yang, the 12 cold resistance level members of Great Xia. They were all looking up, waiting for Xia Hong to speak. Chen Yingyuan, Chen Yingba, Wu Tianxing, and Peng Bo sat in the rearmost seats. First, they looked up at Xia Hong above, then scanned the people seated formally on both sides of the hall. Nearly all of them showed a trace of surprise. Until now, constantly shuttling between the Beehive and Wushuang, this was the first time the 4 had such a direct view of Great Xia's cold resistance level members gathered together. There are 13 here, and I remember on the Beehive side, there's one named Mengyi, plus those currently recuperating, Yuan Cheng and Yuan Dao. This means Great Xia's cold resistance level amounts to at least 16. It's impossible for the camp to be left entirely vacant, so there are definitely more than 16. There are over 1,400 earth-digging realm individuals on this side, 1,000 in Beehive, totaling over 2,400. Like the cold resistance level, their camp certainly holds a portion that hasn't moved. A conservative estimate suggests there are at least 3,000 earth-digging realm individuals. Great Xia's strength is undeniably impressive. Of course, the most crucial thing is his strength. Chen Yingyuan sat in the chair, seemingly expressionless, yet after carefully evaluating Great Xia's strength, his heart was constantly exclaiming, especially when his gaze fell on Xia Hong above, revealing an undisguisable shock in his eyes. Having just followed Xia Chuan to Gourd Valley to rescue Xia Hong, though he seemed calm throughout, only he knew how shocked he truly was inside. Li Xuanling, Li Xuandu, Li Xuanyan, the three young masters of Long Mountain, Meng Ying and Zhou Yuan, two of the 8 great Vajra, and the divine archer Yang Fengping with strength only second to Li Tianhua and Li Tiancheng, excluding Li Tiancheng. These 6 were almost the strongest cold resistance level individuals of Long Mountain at present. To Chen Yingyuan, these 6, along with the 1,000 Longyu troops, could kill anyone in Longyu except Li Tianhua. Even if Li Tianhua's brother Li Tiancheng arrived, it would be a path to death. Yet their attempt to annihilate Xia Hong failed. Regardless of whether Xia Chuan's timely arrival with reinforcements was the reason, the result was that Xia Hong did not die. Not only did he survive, aside from a face shot by Yang Fengping's arrow and several non-lethal arrows in his body, he didn't have any fatal injuries. Whether Xia Hong was more powerful than Li Tianhua, Chen Yingyuan wasn't sure. But he was certain that Xia Hong was definitely superior to both Li Tiancheng and Hu Hu. A leader powerful enough to lord over Longyu, over 20 cold resistance level individuals, and more than 3,000 earth-digging realm members. Ignoring the Longyu troops and Blood Guard army for the moment, just based on these 3 aspects, Great Xia wasn't too far behind Long Mountain and Zhejiang, let alone these being merely conservative estimates. Moreover, I previously observed the light golden armor worn by Great Xia soldiers, including their weapons, though only at the 10 forged level, sufficiently rivaling the 100 forged level on the Longyu side. This confirms Great Xia's forging techniques far surpass Longyu, and the clothes they wear, along with the Dan medicine they utilize. Faced with the staggering number of cold resistance level individuals before him, and based on his experiences over the past few days, Chen Yingyuan felt increasingly shocked by Great Xia's power. Turning to look at Chen Yingba beside him, he couldn't help but sigh softly. Beehive had essentially become defunct, forcing him to consider the future path for himself and his brother. Great Xia seems to be a pretty decent option too. There are 23 who defected to Great Xia, not bad indeed. While Chen Yingyuan was considering joining Great Xia, Xia Hong was naturally unaware of this. Hearing Qiu Peng report that 23 earth-digging realm individuals wanted to defect to Great Xia, he was visibly surprised, displaying an intrigued expression. But soon, noticing Qiu Peng and the reluctance on the faces of Xia Chuan and the others, he realized that they still hadn't understood his intentions, leading him to shake his head helplessly. Let me ask you all a question. After pondering for a moment, Xia Hong slowly began speaking. After capturing everyone's attention, he continued, Supposing Great Xia were defeated in the future, and you were captured by the enemy, and they asked you to leave Great Xia and join their camp, would you be willing? Absolutely not. Impossible. I, Luo Yuan, was born a person of Great Xia and will die a ghost of Great Xia, and would never join any other camp. Upon hearing this question, except for the 4 Chen Yingyuan, the people of Great Xia almost responded instinctively, with many even displaying anger on their faces, apparently feeling Xia Hong's question somewhat insulting them. Chapter 586, Chapter 251, Understanding Win Hearts First, Then Take the Next Step Part 2. As for Xia Chuan, he didn't even open his mouth, just furrowed his brows slightly, thinking ahead about Xia Hong's intentions. Xia Hong showed a hint of satisfaction, smiled, and continued to ask, Since none of you are willing, why do you think others would be willing? I understand the leader's meaning, and I initially didn't think. Qiu Peng just wanted to retort, but was interrupted by Xia Hong raising his hand. Whether we coerce them into joining Great Xia or forcibly bring them back as mining slaves, the end result is nothing more than increasingly strong resistance to Great Xia, or even seizing any opportunity to defect and return to their original camp. Do you admit this? Seeing everyone bow their heads in contemplation, Xia Hong did not wait for them to answer and continued, You don't need to think about it. When I previously infiltrated the hive camp, I stayed in the mining area and interacted with those mining slaves. I'm very clear, even if you don't believe me, there is one person you should believe. Xia Hong's gaze lightly shifted to Chen Yingyuan, who was in the back row on the left side below, and with a smile he said, The hive camp has been capturing mining slaves for years, and no one understands their psychology better than Leader Chen. Would you care to tell us about it? Suddenly being named, Chen Yingyuan looked slightly flustered, immediately stood up, cupped his hands and made a bow to Xia Hong before reluctantly speaking. I dare not bear the title of leader. If the leader doesn't mind, just call me by my name. This Chen Yingyuan is quite astute. Xia Hong lightly smiled and nodded. He was very much aware that unlike Peng Bo's voluntary joining, Chen Yingyuan and his brothers, along with Wu Tianxing, dutifully followed orders because their entire families were currently in Xia City. Controlling 3 cold resistance levels in this way is not a long-term plan. Xia Hong naturally knew, but in the short term, he found no other way to win over these 3, so he could only do this for now. All right, then excuse my directness, Chen Yingyuan, please share with them. Upon hearing this, Chen Yingyuan's face relaxed significantly, and he began to speak to Xia Chuan and the others about the hive camp's mining slaves. To be honest, the hive camp's mining slaves are basically obtained when we annihilate other camps. Therefore, almost without exception, these people harbor deep hatred towards the hive camp. Even if a few eventually join, they have no real feelings for the camp and will leave at the first good opportunity. That's still the better ones, previously. Chen Yingyuan, having been a leader himself, could roughly perceive Xia Hong's intent and quickly explained everything regarding the hive camp's mining slaves. Just as Xia Hong had guessed, anyone captured and made to serve as a mining slave harbors deep psychological resentment and hatred towards the hive camp. As Chen Yingyuan mentioned, those who manage to escape are considered fortunate. The hive camp had previously experienced a mining slave uprising, which resulted in many being killed or injured. After that event, the hive camp had to create more iron shackles to control the mining slaves. Chen Yingyuan even had to deploy a large number of people to guard the mining area, always on alert for another potential uprising. After Chen Yingyuan finished, he spoke in a deep voice. In retrospect, the mining slave system is indeed flawed. Even if implemented, the number of mining slaves must be strictly controlled. Once it exceeds a certain number, it becomes a huge risk, wasting excessive iron, coal, and human resources without gaining any substantial benefit. These miners, having been captured, do not put in their efforts in mining, only giving perfunctory performances and resulting in poor output. Occasionally, they even cause a few riots, leading to losses for the camp. Once he finished speaking, everyone else in the hall fell into contemplation. Xia Hong looked at Chen Yingyuan with a hint of admiration in his eyes. Being able to articulate the last point, this clearly showed that Chen Yingyuan was not an ignorant person. He had thoroughly thought through the mining slave system. After giving everyone a period to think, and seeing that many had begun to understand, Xia Hong continued, I mentioned in the Gourd Valley passage yesterday that releasing these people is the first step for Great Xia to take over Longyu. It seems you still haven't figured it out. In your opinion, what is most crucial for us if we want to take over Longyu? Of course, it's strength. Luo Yuan's response won everyone's unanimous approval. Xia Hong nodded as well and continued to ask, do you think Great Xia's current strength is sufficient? Hearing this, everyone's expressions froze, including Xia Chuan, all shaking their heads simultaneously. Of course, it's not enough. Regarding the number of cold resistance levels, Great Xia can barely be on par with Long Mountain and Zhejiang, gaining no significant advantage. Then there's the number of people in the earth-digging realm. Xia Hong had already informed them about Zhejiang's situation, at least 5,000 and up. Long Mountain need not be mentioned, as their numbers are no less than Zhejiang's. Moreover, before Great Xia establishes a formal army dedicated to aggression, the Longyu Army and the Blood Guard Army are 2 mountains they cannot overcome, especially after what happened in Gourd Valley. Xia Hong felt this particularly deep. Great Xia's productivity is indeed quite good, but this level of productivity is far from bridging the gap between them, Long Mountain and Zhejiang. Thus, at present, relying on strength alone to take over Longyu is impossible for Great Xia. Without sufficient strength, other methods must be considered. Of course, Xia Hong did not ask this without a reason. Everyone bowed their heads in reflection, combining Xia Hong's recent actions to release the earth-digging realms captured from Long Mountain and Zhejiang, and soon a realization dawned upon them. The leader means if we can't win by strength, then first win over people's hearts. Chapter 587, Chapter 251, Understanding Winning Hearts First, Next Steps, Part 3. After all, having been a leader, Chen Yingyuan pointed out Xia Hong's thoughts in one sentence. That's right, it's about earning people's hearts. Xia Hong showed a hint of approval and continued, I have already saved these people once in Gourd Valley. After returning to Wushuang, We saved them again using solidified fire oil. With these two life-saving instances, these people will naturally have a good impression of Great Xia. Even if they return to their own camps, whenever they confront Great Xia in the future, they will subconsciously feel inferior. This sentiment is likely to accompany their return and spread to others in Long Mountain and Jieyang. Upon hearing these words, Xia Chuan, Luo Yuan, and others immediately revealed expressions of contemplation, as if they faintly understood Xia Hong's intentions. For Long Yu, Great Xia has always been an outsider. We conquered Beehive, Wushuang, and Hankyang by force, and the earth-digging realm of these three groups is almost exhausted. Therefore, we don't have to consider the resistance from these three groups, but it's different for other camps. Xia Hong paused, looking around the room, and continued, "You must all remember, Great Xia expands outward not only for territory but also for population. If everyone in Longyu hates us, even if we occupy this land, can you peacefully live and hunt here afterward? Can you effectively manage this area?" Moreover, taking down Beehive, Wushuang, and Hankyang has added nearly 70,000 to our camp's population. Most of them are still in Longyu. Bringing all of them back to Xia City is a massive project, not to mention the integration that follows, which requires a significant amount of resources. If more trouble arises because of these over 1,600 earth-digging realm individuals, it would be a loss rather than a gain. The biggest challenge before us now is the Longyu army and the Blood Guard army. If we were to go to war with these two, do you think Great Xia could win now? Time. We need a lot of time. First, to properly assimilate the new population. Second, to make every effort to close the power gap with Long Mountain and Jieyang. After Xia Hong finished speaking, everyone, including Xia Chuan, showed an expression of guilt. In the past few days, Great Xia had been advancing triumphantly, winning over 3 camps consecutively, and this invincible progress had made them slightly conceited, even beginning to disregard the strength of Long Mountain and Jieyang. Suddenly realizing this, they were shocked to find that Great Xia's strength was still inferior to the two, and they broke out in a cold sweat. Seeing the atmosphere in the hall grow heavier, Xia Hong, knowing that everyone had awakened to reality, first showed a trace of satisfaction in his eyes. Then he thought of something, a gleam of insight flashing in his eyes, and he said slowly, "Moreover, these over 1,600 earth-digging realm individuals were all abandoned once by Li Xuanling and Hu Tong. Do you think there might be a grudge in their hearts?" Everyone, including Xia Chuan, suddenly had a light in their eyes. At the back of the hall, Chen Yingyuan and the others lowered their heads in thought, and after a moment they looked up at Xia Hong, feeling a trace of chill in their hearts. Li Xuanling and Hu Tong and their people must have been infected with dewdrop, and both families probably have some silver. But from what I know, silver is scarce and can't be provided to everyone, so many people still can't solve the dewdrop plague. If we let all 1,600 of these people return and spread the news about solidified fire oil, do you think they will come to us? By this point, Xia Chuan, Qiu Peng, Luo Yuan, and the others finally understood Xia Hong's intention, and their expressions immediately brightened. Especially Qiu Peng, who was in charge of the camp's supply department upon hearing the last part, was incredibly excited. Recalling that he had just doubted Xia Hong, his face was full of shame, and he directly walked to the center of the hall, kneeling before Xia Hong. "I was short-sighted and almost ruined the leader's plans. Please forgive me, leader." Xia Hong shook his head. Not only did he not blame Qiu Peng, but he also admired him for daring to question him. After all, this represented Qiu Peng's insight and thought, rather than being a subordinate who blindly followed. Truth be told, among the current cold resistance level individuals in Great Xia, not many possess this quality. According to Xia Hong's observation, there were only Xia Chuan, Yuan Dao, Yue Feng, and Su Ning before. With Xia Hong's supreme status among the Great Xia people, truly possessing this quality requires courage, vision, and strength. All three are indispensable. Therefore, those who possess this quality, in Xia Hong's view, are capable of taking charge independently. Yue Feng and Su Ning can respectively serve as guardians of Valley and defense envoy of Huayuan for this reason. With the addition of Qiu Peng today, Xia Hong was naturally happier, as it represented the emergence of more talents in Great Xia. Showing a smile, Xia Hong thought of something and suddenly spoke to those below. "For those 23 people wanting to defect to Great Xia, you should take more effort to find out what's going on. Don't just randomly accept people. While we wish to gather intelligence on Long Mountain and Jieyang, they certainly wish to do the same about us." Everyone was momentarily stunned upon hearing this statement. After a moment of contemplation, they understood Xia Hong's meaning and immediately turned their gaze to Qiu Peng. Qiu Peng, who had just delivered the news about the 23 defectors, suddenly realized what was happening and was filled with a sense of fear. He looked up at Xia Hong and wanted to speak, but Xia Hong waved his hand before he could. Handle the specific matters yourselves. I need to start my cultivation. Come to me only if there are special circumstances. Yes, leader. Everyone bowed and then respectfully exited the hall. As soon as they left the hall, Qiu Peng immediately followed behind Xia Chuan. Minister, did the leader mean that these 23 people likely have fake intentions of defecting to gather intelligence on Great Xia? Walking ahead, Xia Chuan nodded slightly, revealing a hint of coldness in his eyes. Not necessarily all of them, but it's highly probable that some are mixed in among them. That's why the leader asked us to take the time to find out. There are more than 2 hours until nightfall. Let's call those 23 in one by one to talk. By the way, I have an idea. After hearing what Xia Chuan said, Qiu Peng's eyes grew brighter, and his face showed a marked expression of admiration. It wasn't until Xia Chuan finished speaking that he said, I'll handle it right away. Chapter 588. Chapter 252. 1,000 gold for a steed's bones, Yang Li surrenders. At dawn, on the first floor of Wushuang main building. It's supposed to be sleeping time now, but Li Hu sat at the edge of the bed, his eyes occasionally glancing at the door, his face full of anxiety. They wouldn't do anything to Ah Zhang, would they? Could it be that our identities have been exposed? No, even if they were exposed, both Ah Zhang and I have just expressed our willingness to defect to Great Xia. They have even less reason to act against us. Before daylight, more than 1,600 Earth-Digging Realm members from the 2 families of Long Mountain and Jieyang were all arranged to rest on the first floor of Wushuang's main building. His luck was good enough to be assigned a room with Yang Zhang. But just now, someone from Great Xia came to take Yang Zhang away. No matter how much he asked, the other party wouldn't say anything, only told him to rest assured. But now, over 10 minutes had passed, and Yang Zhang hadn't returned yet. While worrying about his brother's safety, Li Hu couldn't help but let his thoughts run wild. His basic strength and Yang Zhang's hadn't reached the limit of 30,000 yet, so their strength wasn't considered very strong. He thought about it carefully, and felt that the only place where the 2 of them held any value for Great Xia was perhaps their somewhat unique lineage. The problem is, being illegitimate children doesn't have any actual impact, does it? Neither his father Li Xuanqiang nor Yang Zhang's father Yang Fengping took them seriously. This was almost common knowledge in Long Mountain. Great Xia probably doesn't know about this, and they think controlling us will allow them to threaten Long Mountain. Could it be like this? The more Li Hu thought, the more anxious he became, and he grew increasingly worried about Yang Zhang. But soon, his worry was abruptly interrupted by the sound of footsteps. The door opened from the outside, and Yang Zhang, with a complex expression, walked in carrying a heavy package, followed by 2 Great Xia soldiers. Ah Zhang, are you all right? Li Hu sprang up from the bed, instinctively asking Yang Zhang what was happening, but before Yang Zhang could reply, the 2 Great Xia soldiers interrupted him directly. Don't speak, Li Hu, come with me. Li Hu looked slightly bewildered, noticing Yang Zhang wasn't saying anything and only made a complex expression, then gestured a mouth shape to him as if he understood something. After a slight nod, he followed the 2 soldiers out of the room. In the main building hallway, apart from the Great Xia soldiers stationed every 5 steps and a post every 10 steps, there was no one else. Li Hu silently followed behind them, and soon reached the top floor, arriving at the side room in the central hall. Upon reaching the doorway, a rich aroma of meat wafted into his nose, causing Li Hu to freeze momentarily. After sniffing carefully, his face immediately showed an expression of delight and curiosity. It seems like intermediate beast meat. Why does it smell so good? Having led a hunting team in Long Mountain, he quickly recognized the aroma source from intermediate beast meat. Yet this scent contained something he had never smelled before, sparking his curiosity. You're in for a treat, hurry inside. The 2 Great Xia soldiers who brought him, upon smelling the aroma, also inhaled a few times before prompting him in with a hint of envy. Thank you both for leading the way. Li Hu bowed in gratitude and then slowly stepped into the side room. Inside, 2 people were seated, surrounded by a small iron pot, and the fragrance smelled earlier was clearly wafting from the pot. Li Hu, greetings to Minister, sir. Greetings to Lord Qiu Peng. Li Hu quickly stepped forward, bowing in respect to each of them. He had seen both of them before. The black-clothed young man on the left looked about 70% similar to the leader Xia Hong he had seen before. This should be that minister Sir Xia Chuan, as called by those from Great Xia. The right one was Qiu Peng, who announced the distribution of solidified fire oil and their departure. You and your good brother Yang Zhang, both are quite clever. Without any concealment, Xia Chuan displayed a look of admiration on his face because when Yang Zhang had entered earlier, he also first paid respect to him, and then to Qiu Peng. These two names are quite interesting. Having just learned the names of Li Hu and Yang Zhang, Xia Chuan also understood what Xia Hong's words truly meant. 3 years ago, among the two people who wreaked havoc in Redwood Ridge in Beishuo Town, one was named Li Hu, and the other surnamed Yang, but his name was Yang Ning. Recalling Li Hu and Yang Ning, a gleam of cold light flashed in Xia Chuan's eyes. He hadn't forgotten these two, especially Li Hu's foot, which he still remembered vividly. However, now wasn't the time to think about these things. Xia Chuan slightly moved his attention, giving Qiu Peng across him a look. Understanding, Qiu Peng nodded and invited, Li Hu, we should be around the same age, feel free, come sit and eat together. Li Hu's face was a bit nervous, but remembering the mouth shape Yang Zhang had made before he came, he pondered for a moment and gathered the courage to sit beside Xia Chuan and Qiu Peng. The two brothers had enough tacit understanding and enough travelers, and the mouth shape Yang Zhang had made to him was be honest. Since that's the case, he would be honest. Li Hu went to the table, and without waiting for Xia Chuan and Qiu Peng to speak, he directly grabbed a piece of cold beast meat and stuffed it into his mouth. Last night they first attacked Hankyang and then encountered deceitful monster. Not only him but everyone from Long Mountain, Zhejiang and Hankyang. None had eaten for over 20 hours. They were all terribly hungry, and since Qiu Peng had personally invited him, Li Hu wouldn't hold back and began to feast. Chapter 589. Chapter 252. 1,000 gold for a steed's bones, Yang Li surrenders. But as soon as the first bite of cold beast meat entered his mouth, Li Hu was instantly stunned. An unprecedented taste exploded in his mouth, his tongue and nasal cavity instantly filled with that unique flavor. An incredibly refreshing experience made him feel as though the pores all over his body had opened up. How can it be this delicious? Could it be high-level beast meat? This question, Li Hu ultimately didn't dare to ask out loud. He ate 3 large pieces of beast meat in one go, and only when he looked up did he notice Xia Chuan and Qiu Peng's amused expressions, quickly wiping his mouth with an embarrassed look. Don't be shy, keep eating, use chopsticks, there's more if it's not enough. Qiu Peng smiled and handed him a pair of chopsticks, gesturing for him to continue eating. After pondering for a moment, he continued, there are 9 people in Long Mountain in total, expressing their desire to join Great Xia. Among them, 7 are from Changning, Song Yuan and Yucheng. They've only just joined Long Mountain, so it makes sense for them to want to switch sides. But only you and Yang Zhang have grown up in Long Mountain and are considered purebred scions. Li Hu, do you think our Great Xia would take you and Yang Zhang in? Snap. Hearing the last question, Li Hu directly put down his chopsticks, his face showing a hint of anger. Since you know, why use the words purebred scion to mock us? The identity of being an illegitimate child had always been a sore spot for Li Hu. He didn't envy the bloodline of the Longshan Li family. He only hated this identity that caused the death of his mother, Li Yuning, and deprived him of a normal family, unable to grow up like other kids. This identity as an illegitimate child brought nothing but pain and disgrace, never any tangible benefits. He never considered himself part of the Longshan Li family. His surname had always followed his mother, Li Yuning. Now, even Great Xia refused to take them in because of this identity. A miserable look suddenly appeared on Li Hu's face. After clenching his fists, he stood up directly and said, since Great Xia doesn't want to take us in, Yang Zhang and I will leave at night, gentlemen. No need to rush. At this moment, Qiu Peng suddenly interrupted Li Hu, reaching out to press him back into his seat. Li Hu, whose limit was just under 30,000 pounds, naturally couldn't resist, only looking at Qiu Peng with dissatisfaction, his eyes still filled with anger. At this moment, Xia Chuan from the other side spoke up. Zhu Ru's father Zhu Xing is cold resistance level. Her son Li Wuking is only 1 year older than you, but he started using beast blood 2 years ago. Whether you return to Long Mountain or go elsewhere, unless something extraordinary happens. Your revenge for your mother will remain forever out of reach." Upon hearing this, Li Hu's expression was momentarily stunned, his anger flaring further, but before he had any reaction, Xia Chuan continued. "Yang Zhang, even more so, his mother was forced to death by Li Xuanqiu. Li Xuanqiu himself is cold resistance level, and his father Li Tiancheng is currently the strongest in Long Mountain. His difficulty in seeking revenge is even greater than yours. Not only himself, but even Yang Zhang's matter was thoroughly investigated by them." The anger on Li Hu's face gradually subsided. After completely calming down, he looked at Xia Chuan again, and a glimmer of hope gradually rose in his eyes, speaking directly. "Please speak plainly, gentlemen." Spending such effort to investigate both him and Yang Zhang proved great Xia, indeed, had designs on them. Seeing the delicious beast meat he had never tasted before on the table, and Xia Chuan sitting before him with a status only slightly below the leader Xia Hong, Li Hu already started to guess. Truly smart. Seeing Li Hu's reaction, Xia Chuan couldn't help but sigh inwardly once more. If Li Hu's earlier entry and greeting only showed he and Yang Zhang were perceptive, his reaction now proved his alertness far exceeded the average person. "All right, since you're smart, I won't beat around the bush." Xia Chuan nodded to Qiu Peng, who immediately retrieved a large package from behind and then took out the items one by one, placing them on the table. First, there was a tin can 10 centimeters in diameter, containing a white crystal. Smelling the scent wafting from the can, Li Hu immediately realized what it was, looking at the beast meat on the table. "This is salt. The beast meat you just ate became so delicious because of it. Additionally, after eating it, your body should feel something. Its function isn't just to make food tasty." Next were 2 wooden boxes. Xia Chuan opened the 2 boxes, each containing Dan medicine, the left one with 15 emerald green pills, and the right one with only 5 golden pills. The green ones are beast essence pills, which can enhance your cultivation speed by 30 to 50%. The golden ones are called blood sore pills, healing pills for cold resistance level, life-saving holy items for you. The third item was a large pack of deep blue beast meat, although the meat featured some red streaks, clearly indicating it was intermediate beast meat. 500 pounds of intermediate beast meat, your basic strength is 28,000. With this batch of beast meat, plus that can of salt and bottle of beast essence pills, I estimate when you're done, you could almost push to the 30,000-pound limit. These 3 items alone already made Li Hu breathe heavily. But Qiu Peng wasn't done. He then took out a leather bag. Xia Chuan took the bag, opened it, and placed it in front of Li Hu. Chapter 590, Chapter 252, 1,000 gold for a steed's bones, Yang Li surrenders. Li Hu peered inside and saw the crimson blood in the bag. The familiar wild scent made his voice instantly excited. "Is this beast blood?" "That's right, beast blood. It's the kind of beast blood that can help you reshape your skin." Xia Chuan, with a smile, gently weighed the bag in his hand and continued. "This bag weighs about 50 pounds. Technically, you can't use it yet, but I can hand it over to you first. Also, for any beast blood you'll need when you break through to the cold resistance level in the future, Great Xia will cover it all." "Sir, you want me to return to Long Mountain as Great Xia's inner agent, right?" "There's no such thing as a free lunch." Li Hu, who has suffered since childhood, deeply understands this. Even though these 4 items in front of him are each what he dreamed of, he quickly calmed down and spoke about Xia Chuan's intention. Aside from this, he really couldn't understand why Great Xia would prepare so many good things for him. Too bad he guessed wrong. Hadahata. Upon hearing his words, Xia Chuan was initially stunned, then burst into laughter. After some time he looked at Li Hu and asked, "Li Hu, how useful do you think an earth-digging realm inner agent is to us? Moreover, is it necessary to offer such a high price to buy off an earth-digging realm inner agent?" Upon hearing these 2 questions, Li Hu instantly woke up. In camps as powerful as Great Xia and Long Mountain, an earth-digging realm inner agent indeed wouldn't be very useful. Indeed, it doesn't require offering such a high price to buy one off. Then why give these items to me? Li Hu looked at Xia Chuan, his expression becoming even more puzzled. "You're a smart person, so I won't beat around the bush with you. I'll tell you the truth. Last night, when the deceitful monsters at Hankyang Station were murdering, you and Yang Zhang, at the critical juncture of life and death, still managed to not lose your brotherly bond. Our leader saw this and felt you both were talents worth cultivating. We listened to the leader and investigated the information on you and Yang Zhang. It turns out the leader was right. Both of you have good talent, and your character suits Great Xia well. The point is, you also have the idea of defecting to Great Xia, so all of this, including what's beyond, is considered Great Xia's test for you. A test? Li Hu furrowed his brows, thought for a long time, and when he realized the meaning of this sentence, his expression suddenly shook. He looked up at Xia Chuan. Sir, does this mean I still have to return to Long Mountain? Precisely. Great Xia does indeed need inner agents, but earth-digging realm agents can't reach Long Mountain's core and don't have much impact, so I need you to break through to the cold resistance level. Before breaking through to the cold resistance level, Great Xia won't ask you to do anything. If you need resources, you can report at any time and we'll send them over. How about this treatment? Not bad, right? Great Xia truly has such determination. The shock in Li Hu's heart didn't subside for a long time. At last he looked at Xia Chuan, his face filled with complexity, unable to speak. Xia Chuan's intent was clear. Since it's a test, there can be success or failure. Success means he breakthroughs to the cold resistance level, using the resources from Great Xia, and smoothly becomes Great Xia's inner agent remaining at Long Mountain to assist Great Xia. Failure means he also breaks through to the cold resistance level using Great Xia resources, but doesn't become Great Xia's inner agent, essentially deceiving Great Xia and continuing as a Long Mountain person. The problem is, in this process, neither he nor Yang Zhang stand to lose. Great Xia is essentially gambling with so many resources, betting on the character of him and Yang Zhang, betting that they didn't choose wrong. Li Hu instantly understood why Yang Zhang had seemed a bit complex when he returned earlier, and also the meaning behind his "be honest" gesture. They both have a blood feud from their mother's murder. Defecting from Long Mountain poses no psychological burden whatsoever for them. If rebellion brings enormous benefits, they wouldn't hesitate at all. Above all at this moment, Xia Chuan, Qiu Peng, or say Great Xia's trust in him is a feeling Li Hu never experienced in the past 20 years at Long Mountain. Li Hu's expression gradually became excited. He didn't look at the items on the table. Instead, he left his seat, faced Xia Chuan and Qiu Peng, bowed and spoke with extreme solemnity. Sir, from now on, no matter life or death, Li Hu is part of Great Xia. All settled. Xia Chuan nodded with a light smile, looking at Li Hu, his gaze growing increasingly satisfied. Yang Zhang had just reacted exactly the same way. These two brothers are indeed of the same kind. Out of 23 people, it's likely only these two brothers can bring a little surprise to Great Xia. Chapter 591, Chapter 253, Short on meat, short on manpower, someone delivers. Second year of Great Xia, April 28th. As night fell, a large group of people streamed out from the gates of the Wushuang Giant Stone Camp. They were all armed, with a few wearing iron armor. Upon walking out, they looked at the people of Great Xia with eyes filled with gratitude and emotion. In the crowd, someone was the first to turn back and bow towards the iron gate. Seeing this, the others followed suit and respectfully bowed before leaving. Inside the iron gate, Qiu Peng observed the actions of the Long Mountain and Jiayang families from the earth-digging realm. A trace of a smile emerged on his face as he spoke to Xia Chuan with a light chuckle. After all, people's hearts are made of flesh. The leader was right. These people have been saved twice by Great Xia. Now we've returned all their weapons and equipment and let them all leave. One way or another, they'll somewhat remember the favor from Great Xia. It's more than just a little. Xia Chuan's smile deepened, shaking his head as he continued. Remember what happened earlier in the Gourd Valley, and you'll understand why these people bowed. Qiu Peng lowered his head in thought for a moment before quickly realizing. That's right, the leader was ambushed by Li Xuanling in the Gourd Valley last night, and these people from the earth-digging realm witnessed it firsthand. The people from Long Mountain were directly involved in the ambush, while those from Jiayang hid in the valley, standing idly by. Even if they didn't directly strike, they were accomplices. After failing to kill Xia Hong, Li Xuanling continued to attack the inner valley. Hu Tong led a defense, followed by Wuxing revealing his deceitful monster true form, engaging in a massacre inside the valley, driving off Li Xuanling and other cold resistance level fighters, almost turning the entire Gourd Valley into a living hell. Xia Hong reappeared to save them at this critical moment. After understanding the entire incident, Qiu Peng could not help but look back at the direction of the main building where Xia Hong resided, his eyes filled with genuine respect. The ambush in the Gourd Valley clearly was a conspiracy between the Long Mountain and Jieyang families. After the leader escaped, not only did he not hold a grudge, but he went back to save them in their moment of crisis. This is not just a simple act of saving lives. As long as these 1,600+ people have a bit of conscience, they are unlikely to act against us in Great Xia in the future. Isn't this what the leader talked about before, repaying grievances with kindness? I didn't fully understand it before, but today I've finally witnessed it. At this moment, although Qiu Peng fully understood the actions of those people, his heart was mostly filled with admiration and respect for Xia Hong's magnanimity. In essence, it's about vision and scope. What our leader carries in his heart is probably too grand for us to comprehend. I can't understand it, and neither can you. Xia Chuan sighed slightly, a sense of urgency rising within him. Seeing Xia Hong again after 4 months, he clearly felt that the gap between himself and his big brother had widened. This gap was evident not just in strength, but also in magnanimity, vision, and scope. The biggest reason we haven't been able to conquer Longyu is that we cannot continue dragging the leader behind us. The overall strength of Great Xia and our personal capabilities must be accelerated. Qiu Peng nodded heavily upon hearing this, a trace of guilt in his eyes. The current situation in Longyu is strictly among 3 forces: Great Xia, Jieyang, and Long Mountain. In terms of top battle strength, Great Xia is not inferior. They are already aware of what happened on the right side of Long Mountain on the night of the 14th, Li Tiancheng, and Hu are no match for the leader. The biggest problem now lies in the Blood Guard army, the Longyu army, and the fact that the Long Mountain and Jieyang families have far more earth-digging realm people than Great Xia. Simply put, it's the matter concerning these subordinates. Are Luo Yuan and Zhu Yuan's numbers fully reported? Upon Xia Chuan's inquiry, Qiu Peng immediately nodded and said, "They've been busy with this for 4 hours since dawn and have reported everything to me." As he spoke, he took out a ledger from his bosom and continued. Last night, a total of 17,421 people came from Hankyang. Of these, 2,931 are from the earth-digging realm. Excluding the 1,672 who just left from Jieyang and Long Mountain, the remaining 1,259 earth-digging realm individuals all came from the Hankyang camp and are considered people of Great Xia. This number was compiled by Luo Yuan. Additionally, according to Zhu Yuan, during the distribution of solidified fire oil last night, the dewdrop plague outbreak resulted in 421 deaths, mostly ordinary people without cultivation. Among the remaining 14,069 people, there are 4,282 from the logging realm, with the rest being ordinary people. Yuan Dao is still recuperating in the beehive, so matters regarding the earth-digging realm naturally fall to Luo Yuan, the deputy director of the hunting department. Zhu Yuan, the director of the civil affairs department, handles all population-related issues. Xia Chuan didn't react upon hearing, merely kept looking at Qiu Peng. Seeing Xia Chuan's gaze, Qiu Peng immediately understood, flipping through the ledger before continuing. On the side of Wushuang, excluding the 821 captured in the last battle with us, the total population is 28,814. There are none in the earth-digging realm, 3,821 in the logging realm, and 24,993 ordinary people. The beehive has 129 in the earth-digging realm, 3,639 in the logging realm, and 29,273 ordinary people. What's the migration status from the beehive? The beehive has long started the migration. 3 days ago, Meng Yi and Yue Feng, stationed at Jing Valley, began their coordination. According to their agreed plan, it should take a total of 6 days to relocate all the ordinary people to Xia City. Xia Chuan nodded. The migration plan was drafted by him and his team, so he was familiar with the details. It was agreed 3 days ago that after the captives were escorted back, ordinary people would be prioritized to migrate back to Xia City, while the logging realm and earth-digging realm individuals would remain in place. Chapter 592, Chapter 253, Short on Meat, Short on Manpower, Someone Delivers Part 2. Beehive 129, last night Hankyang's 1259, with the newly added earth-digging realm, the total is 1,388 people. We have 1,000 people in the earth-digging realm staying at the beehive, and currently there are 1,472 people at Wushuang, altogether totaling. Xia Chuan murmured softly, his expression gradually becoming somewhat grim. 3860 people. This is the number of available Earth-digging realm manpower at Longyu from Great Xia. Qiu Peng evidently knew this number well, and without calculation, he directly reported it. However, after reporting it, his expression also gradually turned grim. Clearly, he too, like Xia Chuan, realized something. No wonder the leader said our strength is insufficient. Not to mention comparing with the Blood Guard army and the Longyu army, just in terms of available Earth-digging realm personnel, we are inferior to those two. It's not inferior, it's far inferior. Not to mention the number of Earth-digging realm in Long Mountain itself, they used a decapitation strategy to seize Yu Cheng, Changning, and Song Yuan. If handled properly, the Earth-digging realm of these three might soon bear arms to fight for Long Mountain. Zhejiang is even more beyond consideration. Xiling, Dongkang, White Abyss, all three camps haven't yet joined the fight. Along with Zhejiang's own over 3,500 people, their earth-digging realm far outstrips us. Upon hearing this, Qiu Peng's expression became increasingly grave and said, "Before coming to Longyu, Great Xia's earth-digging realm numbered 2,941 in total. We've already drawn out 2,600, excluding the 100 stationed at Huayuan and Jing Valley. Currently, only just over 200 earth-digging realm are left at Xia City. Even with some breakthroughs, it can't surpass 300, and we can't spare any more manpower here." Today is April 28th. Great Xia started transferring personnel to Longyu only 8 days ago. In 8 days, even if someone breaks through to Earth-digging realm daily now, there won't be many new additions. The remaining Earth-digging realm at Xia City is just over 200. After focusing entirely on Longyu these past few days, Xia Chuan's face turned much graver upon hearing this from Qiu Peng. Even when including Huayuan and Jing Valley's 100 people, the number of Earth-digging realms staying in Xia City is clearly insufficient. The Earth-digging realm not only ensures camp security, but also supplies beast meat. Without them hunting, where would people in Xia City get beast meat for cultivation? The key issue is, people from the Beehive are already migrating to Xia City, and Great Xia's population has been steadily increasing over the past 4 months. In this case, is the camp's beast meat still enough? The camp supply department's stockpile of beast meat has already been activated, hasn't it? Upon hearing Xia Chuan's question, Qiu Peng immediately displayed a bitter smile and said, "Not only have we opened the stockpile of beast meat, but when the minister returned to Xia City to transfer 1,600 people the other night, I noticed that the beast meat supply was about to face a problem. I have already informed the department to raise the beast meat price to 5 contribution value per pound. Our stockpile of beast meat is considerable. If the population remains stable at this price, it might last for 2 months, but now." Xia Chuan's eyebrows furrowed immediately. The latter part of Qiu Peng's words evidently referred to the recent population surge at Xia City. Indeed, previously Xia City's population was just over 30,000. If this number remained unchanged, the camp supply department's stockpile of beast meat would surely last a long time. But now, clearly, it's not enough. The population suddenly increased by 70,000. When all these people return to Xia City, I estimate, with the current stock of beast meat, even if the price doubles again, it probably will only last for a month. The price has already increased tenfold. Doubling again would make it 20 times the original price. That can't be done. This round of newly added 77,604 people is more than twice our previous population. Pricing it too high is not conducive to their rapid integration into Great Xia. We must find a way. Only now did Xia Chuan truly realize how right Xia Hong was with those words he spoke at dawn. To properly absorb this batch of new population, to strive as best we can to narrow the gap between our strength and that of Long Mountain and Zhejiang, the leader's previous words were indeed without flaw. We have recently been immersed in the joy of capturing the 3 camps and have neglected attention to the situation at Xia City. Clearly, Qiu Peng too realized this, just like him. Currently, we occupy Wushuang, Hankyang, and Beehive. We've grabbed enough territory at Longyu this time, but we can't spare manpower to guard it. With only 3,860 people, even based on the Longyu Army's 1,000 men we saw last night at Gourd Valley, I estimate that excluding cold resistance level, even if we gather this entire group together, it might not be feasible to hold it. Xia Chuan spoke with some reluctance but quickly adjusted his mindset and said in a serious tone, "The dewdrop plague matter hasn't passed yet. Long Mountain and Jiayang will most likely come to seek our solidified fire oil. Just this point alone is enough to prevent them from daring to wage war against Great Xia. We must utilize this window period wisely. I will take some time to return to Xia City temporarily, tighten the availability of beast meat, Dan medicine, and other cultivation resources, and limit the martial arts hall slots. Prioritize those close to breaking through, and with utmost speed, cultivate a batch of earth-digging realm and see if Xia City can resolve the beast meat deficiency with its current population. Good. Xia Chuan immediately nodded in agreement with Qiu Peng's proposal and continued. When you go back, notify Meng Yi and Yue Feng that the migration plan remains unchanged, leaving only a group of logging realm at Beehive to guard the camp. Ensure to send everyone back to Xia City with the utmost speed. Additionally, have Meng Yi release 800 people to return with the migrating team. The camp's beast meat gap cannot be too large.